Today on Doomed! This past Wednesday, white nationalist Nick Fuentes and his merry band of Groypers got together in the New York City borough of Staten Island and held an anti-vaxxer rally. And one person was there to catch, well, a lot more than one person was there, but actually not many people, as our guest will tell us, because he was there. And he's going to give us an on-the-ground report on basically, more broadly, how white supremacist groups are linking up with the anti-vaxxer movement and, quite frankly, using it to their advantage. Let me pull him up on the screen here. He is a regular guest on this show and one of my favorite people to talk to. There we are. Michael Edison Hayden of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Michael, thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm very excited. I'm hearing myself a little bit. And
Oh, okay. Let me see if I could do a little something here, but otherwise, I see what it might be. All right, no problem. Cool.
You got some new equipment this time?
Yeah. I did since the last time you've been on, I did some rearranging to get some, so people, guests can hear what's going on but I could just easily, no problem, change that around. So you'll just hear me. There we go. That should fix the problem.
Sounds perfect.
Perfect. So Michael, I mean, I guess let's start with this. I mean, you always come on this show and have something incredible to bring us, and this is no different. And we have, but basically is a Nick Fuentes in the flesh, on the ground, in the public sphere rally in New York City. I mean, it's not. I don't know if Nick Fuentes has held NYC events before. We could argue over whether Staten Island is legit New York City. I will say, for the purpose of this conversation, I think it is.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to lose claim to Wu-Tang Clan, right? So
that's true. That's true. So what? First of all, how did they promote this event? Because I have to be honest. I'm aware of some of the ways white supremacists are using the anti-vaxxer movement. I was not aware of this rally, and it's not, it's in the same city I'm in.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons this kind of caught a lot of people by surprise is because Fuentes has been suspended from every major social media platform, right? I came on here to talk about the Twitter investigation, the long-form analysis that I published about that website.
And then the very next day, Twitter banned him.
they had to do something about one of the people on there, right? So they chose Nick. He was the low-hanging fruit. He's the most despised, I think, among other people on the right. So I think that made him a very easy target, right? So it's like it's no sweat off anybody else's back, like if you get rid of him. Anyway, so he's been suspended from most every major social media platform, right? So this Vax Watch tour that he's got going now, which is kind of, you can feel he's like trying to figure out how to get his toes back in after January 6th, happened almost completely on Telegram, which has a lot more reach than I think people realize. And it's certainly more than I was willing to give it credit for. I'm of two minds here. I saw about 60 Nick Fuentes people there. I'm going to say roughly 60 people. And that includes some people who saw the little pig pen that the cops put, these guys in.
Right.
If you saw the pictures that I posted to Twitter. There are some people who saw that pen and were like, oh, I'm just going to hang out on the side here. I don't really want to be in there. I think in total, probably about 50 to 60 around that area, Nick Fuentes supporters. So I have two minds of this. On one hand, yeah, that's not too much. On the other hand, this was not a holiday. It's not Veterans Day, which is today. I know because my kids are back at school. This was a work day for most people and a school day for his high school fans.
Right.
of which he has quite a few.
Right.
And to get like 60 people about that into Staten Island, which requires multiple forms of transportation, as it's a hassle to get into Staten Island. If you want to take the ferry, that comes every 30 minutes or so, I think. Most people have to take a bus. I took the bus from Lower Manhattan, and there's a guy, on the bus sitting next to me who happened to be going to the rally, and he put a "Let's Go Brandon" sticker on the side of the bus, which I did not have time to remove. I'm sure someone else did. Yeah. So I'm of two minds. Like on one hand, it's not that big a rally. On the other hand, that's actually a pretty decent showing. Then you had to add an extra thing in this, which is the likelihood that Nick Fuentes is cooperating with federal law enforcement is so high after January 6th. It's extremely high. And so if you could imagine following this guy into war, so to speak, in the culture wars, going out there with your face in an anti-vax, anti-mask, he's basically telling people to go out there unmasked. He later changed that after he saw that I was posting pictures of people or whatever. And I think he had to save face, but really speaking, I mean, the whole thing is to invite people to go out barefaced, go into a little pen and get their picture taken. You got some real numbskulls to want to do that, quite frankly, I think.
Right. I mean, we saw that there was quite a few numbskulls who did what they did on January 6th and did it without any face covering whatsoever as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I say the likelihood that he's cooperating with federal law enforcement is high, it's like I can't name a single individual who would be more likely to be cooperating with federal law enforcement on the extreme far right than Nick Fuentes. We just know he's under investigation. I have heard that his lawyers have been contacted regarding the January 6th committee. This guy is very, very, he's really, really deep into this, in trouble from, his actions over the past year. So it's fascinating that people are willing to see all that and then just go into it anyway.
Right. Right. Now, I actually wonder about that because on this show we've covered it before, specifically how a lot of white supremacists are jumping onto. I mean, the anti-vaccination, anti-vaxxer movements and white supremacy does seem to be not strange. Quite. It makes sense that they're bedfellows in some ways, but. On this show, I spoke with Devin Burghardt of the Institute for Research and Education, who specifically had put out a report about how white supremacists were using the anti-vaxxer movement to try to seep back into the mainstream, because obviously due to the COVID-19 pandemic, white supremacy might still be fringe, but anti-vaxxers have gone into the mainstream. And they're using the anti-vaxxer movement to sort of, get back into more people's homes, I guess. Get into the. There was a few anti-vaxxers who ended up being who ran these big anti-vaxxer podcasts, who blew up on iTunes or Apple Podcasts back in the earliest days of the pandemic, and it turned out they were white supremacists hiding behind the anti-vaxxer stuff. But do you think that Nick Fuentes was asked to do this, or is this him just basically trying to keep doing what he's doing and doing exactly that, using the anti-vaxxer movement?
Well, I don't know. I don't know who's funding him. I don't know, if there's anybody advising him from behind the scenes to do one thing or another. I do know that they feel that they can get traction. These guys feel that they can get traction with this medical tyranny narrative. This idea that doctors are strapping people down and forcing them to take medicines that are, going to change them in some way or going to, violate their rights and so forth. Although it doesn't really connect very well with mentally with the brute racist side of the white supremacist stuff, right? It's not I personally, I understand the Black community's hesitation around any kind of medical mandates and things like that. I understand that a lot better than this. It's like, their interest in it actually has much more parallels to like the kind of anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, type things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if you believe that, what are they called? Zionist occupational government or whatever, ZOG, is an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that a lot of these guys believe in. This idea that Jews from behind the scenes are manipulating our world in such a way to, weaken white people and, make the white race go away or whatever, in order to maintain power for Jewish people. If you believe in that type of conspiracy theory that requires like so many layers of manipulation, you're also likely to you're likely to believe in this kind of medical tyranny narrative at the same time, because it's the same kind of suspension of logic, right? Where it's just like this idea that COVID, the government created COVID, or some whoever created COVID in order to do this. You need to really be off the deep end and really believing in some serious levels of manipulation in order to believe that. So I think it's actually something that works with people who are, virulently anti-Semitic. That is like a real, patch of extremists that it fits in with. And it's not surprising that it was mixed in with this weird over-the-top faux Christian stuff that Nick Fuentes has been doing recently, which he like aired out a lot at that rally.
Right. And we'll get to the specifics of the rally in a second, especially this great video that I will play for everybody, where Nick Fuentes seemed to be really bothered by your your.
They didn't want me there.
Right. I wonder why. But you mentioned Telegram, and it's interesting that it seems like, in Nick Fuentes' case, Telegram seems to be the only place, the main of the big social platforms that he still has a presence on. And in some ways I think that's not so bad. It gives a good way to keep tabs on some of these folks without putting them on some of the more accessible mainstream platforms.
Yeah, just to interact there, they have to be somewhere, right? I just want to make that clear. Like, I'm like, we don't want to like eliminate their narrative is that we want to remove their right to speak, etc. They have to be somewhere, right? And might as well be on Telegram. It's actually a pretty useful little app for monitoring the far right in some ways.
And it's sequestered too. Like that's a major thing. Like,
they're going to be somewhere, dude.
Right.
That's the main thing.
Right. And, you have to literally seek them out to find them, unlike, a platform like Twitter or Facebook, where the algorithm will just throw it in your grandma's feed and say, here, check out this young Nick Fuentes fellow, grandma.
Right. Jack Posobiec.
Right. So, but here's my question. Where's Nick Fuentes especially streaming now? Like, this was the guy who made his like his like standout tribute that like separated him from some of the other white supremacists, that like he is this like young guy with this, like you said, high school audience who live streams a lot, and the kids love live streamers. He's not on Twitch though, and I think he's not allowed on like DLive and the other like side platforms.
DLive ban. So we reported out, myself, Megan Squire, and Hannah Gase and we reported out, I think we did the first story on DLive, the first story about like white supremacists using using it. Actually, wait, there might have been a little bit other reporting. If I'm not giving someone credit, that's fine. But we did some very extensive reporting, at least, about who was on there, how much they were raising. That was all Megan Squire. She's so good at this stuff. And no, I was just saying that like that went for a while, and like they wouldn't answer us. I think Charles Wayne or whatever is the DLive guy. I think is the guy who runs it. They wouldn't answer us. They didn't do anything. No, we wouldn't return our our request for comment or whatever. Then January 6th happened, and the New York Times kind of like re-reported some of the stuff that we had reported out, and they pulled him, and they obviously pulled Baked Alaska after January 6th. Right. So now he's on this like. I don't want to give the exact domain, but it's really like self-done. Like they've like really established it themselves inside the America First movement, his live streams. And we have some reporting coming out that shows the tech team overlap between Fuentes. I don't want to give away too much of the reporting, but to tease it out for people, they're going to be excited when it comes out, because I think it's some really great reporting. It's actually the same group. It's Hannah, Megan, and myself. Just that the same people who are in the tech teams with InfoWars, Epic, are also helping to sustain Nick Fuentes online. And they are, some of them have longstanding ties to the white supremacist movement, and some of them have been involved, and I don't want to give too much of this away, with promoting some very, what you might call, accelerationist stuff, pro-terror attack. It's seemingly pro-terror attack stuff. So you can see that in in a story that should be out. It should have been out this week. I'm not really sure what happened. We are very slow, notoriously slow. Anyway, but yeah, it's a very like DIY setup that Nick's got going.
And so, all right, so you go down to here's another question. We've seen actually a lot of really large, actually, again, New York City is a big city, so large in a sense of a couple hundred people, if not maybe 1,000 people, at anti-mandate rallies. Again, large for the number of people on the ground, but in the terms of how many people are in the city, fairly small ratio. But again, we've seen marches across the Brooklyn Bridge with hundreds, if not a couple thousand people. But Nick Fuentes gathers his crew of a couple dozen and head to Staten Island. Why Staten Island? Like, I know it is the most conservative part of New York City, if you don't count probably the Rockaways and Howard Beach in Queens.
Yeah.
But it's certainly
outside the city, also Suffolk County, which is Trump's favorite place to go to in New York.
Right, and when I'm on the topic, I shouldn't leave out Whitestone in Queens either. But they just might have voted in Vicky Palladino as the next city council person, which is, it's another story. But Vicky Palladino, by the way, who I think is been in good graces with Nick Fuentes previously, because her son, who is a campaign manager for her campaign, is a big fan, I believe, of the Groypers.
Yeah, it's like, okay, but we get on tangents. Let's stay focused. I was going to go on a long tangent about the GOP, but let's go.
But, all right,
Keep going.
So why Staten Island? Get it, big conservative base there. Obviously, that doesn't matter if you just get 60 people out,
Yeah.
So why, it would have made more sense to just go to, somewhere where there's tons of, walk-bys in Times Square or in Brooklyn or something.
I mean, if they did this in Queens, the odds of them getting their asses kicked would be much, much higher. Let's just be honest. I mean, just like Staten Island is a place that votes in high numbers for Trump. It's totally abnormal for the rest of New York City, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to go to Brooklyn, it's the literal belly of the beast, where where Sleep will go and play 3 shows in a row or something. And it's what I mean? The place where it's the place where New York hipsters who are left leaning, it's just a question of are you kind of a DSA person, or are you an anarchist or whatever? You're not going to go to some place like that and do a Nick Fuentes rally. It's not going to go over very well. You go to Staten Island because you're looking for, and they were really going for this. If you put up a sign that just says America First, Trump said it a lot, right? They don't know that it has this kind of umbrella thing for Fuentes' movement. You just say a sign that says America First and an American flag and an anti-vax thing, you're going to get, people who have mashed potatoes for brains honking their horns, right? They don't know if they're honking their horns for a white supremacist group or something like that, right? So they're just oh yeah, right.
Right.
Trump, right? there are Trump supporters in this country. Like, I went on a vacation with my wife for like a weekend or whatever to a very rural community. And, there were like huge Trump 2024 signs. This is like months ago. It's like already. Like part of me is just like, it's like, why do you need to be so like, aren't you unhappy being so deep in this like political culture war? Like why, like I would be just so unhappy. Like what, I think I supported Bernie. Just put like a huge Bernie Sanders, like already, like it's just so, there's something withering about it. Anyway, besides the point, you're going to get in Staten Island, you're going to get people drive by and like honk their horns and stuff like that as they drive by. That's why you do it. Because if you try it in Queens, the odds of you getting your ass kicked are pretty high. You can't just walk around like some of these guys are like walking around in like America First hats. They're so foolish looking too. Like they don't like a nice baseball cap that like falls back a little bit, or these things like look like fucking like train conductor hats. They don't go down, right? These America First hats that these idiots wear. They look like fucking train conductors. It's like like this. So they're wearing this like because they have to get the America First like big on it. So these dumbasses are wearing these like stupid hats like this, and they're all carrying fucking flags. They got like flags with like this America First. You can't. There are neighborhoods you can't do that. Like you can't do that in in Astoria or something like that. It's not gonna go over well.
Right. With that said, when you headed down there and you were in the crowd, were you worried about your own safety, being that you were in MAGA world and you were at this Groyper event? And
I was I was worried about one thing, dude. I was worried about one thing, which is getting COVID. Like because I am in an anti-vax rally with a bunch of morons. That's what I was worried about. They were like, oh, you gotta take off your mask. It must be ugly under there. That's why you're not doing it. I'm like, no, I'm just not taking my mask off because I don't like anywhere near you guys. Like at an anti-vax rally with Nick Fuentes. I just don't want COVID, man. I'm not I'm vaccinated. So it was outdoors, so I'm not worried about that. But it's just like they're really gross guys. And no, I'm not really worried about that. I mean, like I've already in my life dealt with so many like threats. I mean, these guys are since then they've been trying to dox me and all this. They always fail at it, right? They keep publishing my parents' address where I last lived when I was in high school. They have no idea where I am. And no, I mean, like these guys, they're not an intimidating group. They are a very, very insecure lot. And you can see like Fuentes himself, the level of insecurity and fear that drives this guy. First of all, the visual of just showing up in a protective vest, which I guess was a bulletproof vest. I didn't want to say I used the word protective vest because I just did not know, but apparently it was a bulletproof vest. It was reported in some of these articles. It's just like staggering statement. It's just like this. It's so paranoid of like what could happen to you as you go in. Looking so nervous when he came by, like and he passed me. He had already posted something. If you see this guy, like don't whatever. There was not a good crowd of counter protesters there. I was a little disappointed. Then again, many of the counter protesters are probably working. It's the middle of the day. Going out to Staten Island's a pain in the ass. You can't even do it at a lunch break or whatever. But like, he looked nervous. Like he's got that like nervous smile. Referenced me multiple times during this thing. I'm just one person there. And the thing is, I kept yelling questions to him, and you could see like that Fuentes was like, when I would yell the questions, which are the questions I'd asked were, Nick, are you cooperating with federal law enforcement right now? And I just kept yelling. I was like, Nick, are you cooperating with federal law enforcement right now? Are you cooperating with federal law? Have you had conversations with federal law enforcement, Nick? Nick, what did you tell the FBI when you spoke to them? Don't tell me you didn't talk to the FBI. Right. Like you are cooperating with. I mean, if you're not cooperating with federal law enforcement, why haven't you been? Like what are you doing? Why are you doing Vax rallies out in the middle of nowhere in Staten Island? And the other thing I was saying with him is have you received a subpoena from the January 6th committee to shore up something that I believe has happened? So He didn't seem to like those questions because it's weird. It's very weird. He's got these young fans and he's signing their hats and all this shit. It's weird.
Right. You'd think, some of your questions that you're shouting out loud would cause some of his fans who are standing right there to wonder, holy shit, maybe what this guy is saying is true, and Nick Fuentes is selling us out. But no, right? Of course not.
Well, I mean, the part of the problem with working for SPLs, like the gift and the curse, so to speak, is like the nice part about it is I get to go there and I'm just taking pictures of people's faces. Like I'm just doing a service for anybody who wants it. Here, this guy. The regular paper, you can't do that. Understood. I mean, we really build a lot of research about these people. So that's a good thing. And the fact that I can yell those questions directly is good. The bad thing is that I can't like lean on those questions. It's an immediate confrontation when I ask a question and when I'm there, right? I can't blend in. That's the one thing that I lose from my past journalism back when I used to be.
Did you forget your red MAGA hat at home, Mike?
Yeah, there's no point. I was actually wearing like a black mask with the Southern Poverty Law Center logo on it.
Oh, well, there's the giveaway.
and I was sitting next to the guy on the bus, and he's just like, putting his "Let's Go" brand. It's just really embarrassing. But that's the part of the problem is because of that direct confrontation, they're not going to talk to me in the same way, and I have to try to get information in different ways, which I have repeatedly done about these guys. So that's I've got my ways of getting it.
Right. I got an important question in the YouTube live stream chat. This comes from a Jared Holt.
Yes.
How many Groypers can Mike take in an arm wrestling competition?
More these days, more than more than I could have a few months ago. I've been working out and things like that. I had a small had surgery. I had to take a week off of it, but a little bit more than I could have a few weeks ago is the answer. I would say the vast majority of Groypers, they don't really they're not a very intimidating bunch when you see them. And I just want to say something else because I think Holt would find this element of it pretty interesting. I think it's very easy to just be like, oh, they're like, a lot of the people who are responding on Twitter are like, oh, they're so like, look at these guys, woof, they're so busted and all that stuff. I mean, let's be fair here. I think a lot of these guys are too insecure to really go for it and try to be their best selves. Does that make sense? Like there's a level, they are looking to some kind of alpha ideal that they fear that they're never going to be. So they don't try, and they're not like horrible looking people. They could actually, probably do more than they do. But I mean, you can feel that there's this psychosexual anxiety about the entire group of Fuentes's movement that really drives them. And I say that, based on something that's real, which is, a lot of, when I've covered a lot of these things, I used to get like a ton of stuff about the fact that I'm half Arab from all these guys. Dore has been called me the half Egyptian, this, that, whatever. Used to get a lot of that type of shit. I didn't get any of that. Everything I got was of a sexual nature from these guys, right? Everything was about one guy kept following around with really, really explicit sexual stuff, like saying I don't want to say it because it's it's not fair to your audience, and it's it made me feel
in knowing what's going on.
I mean he was just real details about fetishistic male on male sex. That he was saying, oh, we're going to go home and we're going to do that. And oh, this is my boyfriend tonight and we're going to do this. And it was something where I picked up on it. I'm I felt bad for the guy because I'm this is a lot of detail, right? This is you got something on your mind, buddy. This is I feel a little weird, and I think it's very easy. I don't want to use that easy out, be oh, there's a lot of, sexual repression and maybe that whatever. but I was struck by how often and how frequently these guys bring up specifically anti-LGBTQ rhetoric. That is like what seems to be driving the entire movement. And there are people of color there. I mean, there were a few people who were not just like your typical, Identity Europa dropouts.
Right. Now let me play this video. Well, first off, this photo is great. These guys love using the soy boy face meme, and I don't think I've ever seen in all the photos that are ever been out there that these guys like to compare that meme to. I don't think I've ever seen one so directly look like that soy face meme than this. It is literally, it looks like they might have traced this. The guy who made the soy face meme is from the future. He saw this photo. He took it back to when the soy face meme first came out, and it was just a traced version of this. I don't think I've ever seen anything look more like it than this. It's incredible.
It's so good. So good.
Are they still wearing those stupid glasses that they were wearing over the summer? The Viper or whatever?
Yeah, they're still trying to get that going a little bit, even though, it's the middle of November. Yeah, they're still doing it. They're still trying very hard to get that going. It's so different from other white supremacist groups. Like, if you see, speaking of feds, if you see the National Justice Party, which is Mike Penovich's group, we've definitely talked about him on here or whatever. I've ID'd about eight of those guys now. And they've shut down their operations, their public facing operations altogether. They just now they just do things in a barn, and a couple in Pennsylvania and one we believe in Ohio. And it's they're just everything's locked down, and you can't, nobody sees anything. We don't know how many people are in the audience and all this or whatever. They just hide. Everybody goes and this and whatever. Fuentes is still able to get people to just show up, and the way he's able to do it that is different, and that strikes me as being different, is that he has fans. He has real fans. And these guys who came, a couple of people who came with their mom. This guy came with his mom. And I was like, eek. It looked like his mom. And I was like, yo. And they, at the end of it, got their hats, those fucking train conductor ass looking hats. They got them signed on the bill by Nick Fuentes. So it's he actually gets people because he's got fans, influencer fans, which I didn't really know was a thing, but it's a thing.
Right. I guess
I'm 42, man. I the idea of me being a fan of a streamer other than you, it's
I mean, I guess being a Groyper is a family affair now. I mean, when mommy's taking you now, were they there just to take the kid to the young man to see his favorite streamer, or were they into it too?
It was like that, dude. It was it was like when my dad took me to get the new Bjork album when I was in high school. It was like that, dude. It was.
Wait, so Nick Fuentes is angry young white males like Justin Bieber? Is that what we're at?
Can you take me to Vax Watch? It's just it's sad, dude. It's I'm sorry. I didn't want to. See, it was I cracked up laughing at one point during it when Fuentes, because during the, I don't know if you played the clip yet, but during the thing where he starts ranting about Christ, he's got this there's this totally weird dude who's got a huge crucifix and he's just holding it up. It's the least religious experience you could possibly imagine.
Let's play that clip now. Let's get right to it.
Please do.
All right. Here is the Fuentes rally when he realizes that Edison Hayden is in the crowd.
That is the fate of this nation. That man on that cross, that is our ultimate reality. That is more real than your job. That is more real than your friends. That is more real than these barricades and that scumbag journalist over there.
Can you?
Oh, I'm sorry. You might not have heard it because I changed the settings before, so you wouldn't hear yourself.
Uh,
But yeah, I played it.
yeah, I didn't hear it, but I know it. Could you hear like my kind of high pitched laugh
I mean,
there?
I
in
assumed
the
it
middle?
had to be
Here.
you because I don't think anyone else there would have had the sense of humor to find that to be funny.
What I did not capture, and anybody who was there afterwards knows, is that I just had a giggle fit, and I just laughed for like 3 minutes because it's just how surreal it was. Because it's like this guy is there, and it's like they're holding the cross, and it's like such a serious. It's like, you know, he's like fake serious, right? Like, you know, I went to all boys Catholic school, so it's like I'm a vet. I know my Catholicism. Anyway, so this guy's like so serious, like holding the cross up and all this in this really performative bullshit way. And Fuentes is like, that man, you know, whatever other cross. That is the only thing that's real. That's the only thing that's real to you. Your mom is not real. Your job is not real. And then he's like clearly so distracted by the fact that I was taking pictures or whatever. It's like, and that scumbag journalist is not real. And it was just sums up, I think, how fatuous this whole thing that he's doing really is. I mean, do these guys really believe there's some kind of sincerity? There's like some sincerity. You think like Jesus Christ likes this? Like you outside of a hospital, in a like a cop created playpen, you know, wearing these ridiculous hats, surrounded by cops. It's just like the least religious, you know, thing you can possibly imagine.
The weird thing to me is like you got these young guys like trying to like out love Christ or something. Like it's really bizarre. Like it's like and it's not even like, you know, you can understand how you got these old guys, you know, these older people in like a white supremacist group like the KKK out there burning crosses. Yeah. But here you got Nick Fuentes and his you know, Twitch teens, you know, out there going, you know, Christ is the only thing that matters. It's just like a really weird way to build even like this youth white supremacist movement. Do you know what I mean? Like it's sort of like not connected weird with like
it's
how
weird.
Young people view it, like view religion. Right.
It's weird. Okay. It's a little weird. But at the same time, like you know, as somebody whose job it is to study this stuff, and report on it, I can point to like some very like clear things that kind of made it possible, if that makes sense. And now Hannah is much better at the whole like Christian crossover, like the sort of neo-fascist, like Christian, you know, stuff overlapping things. She's very good at that stuff. So I'm not going to get into, she's a researcher. I'm an investigative reporter. I'll let her get the hard details, the academic details on about this. But, you know, up until like run up to Charlottesville, where Nick was kind of got his, that's where he was like really born as a public figure, I think, in some ways. This very nihilistic, very atheistic alt-right, which was kind of like against these, against this kind of boomer, Judeo-Christian, you know, self-described as Israel, evangelical, you know, hub, you know, inside the Republican Party, totally against that, and really embraced a lot of atheism and things like that. And then they come in, totally race focused, no religion, and they have this kind of horrific display at Charlottesville that is still a PR disaster for them. I don't know why it is. They're like, everything about them says that they want to kill, and you know, they have done horrific things. I mean, like you can easily point to people like what about Ernest, John Ernest, the guy who went into the synagogue and would have killed many more Jews than he did in April of 2019. It's just a minor example of somebody who's like really obsessed with the kind of alt-right stuff who went out to kill. But for some reason, Charlottesville is the thing that still, is the sign of their failure, where everybody kind of absorbed how nihilistic and dark this whole shit really was. And it seems as if Fuentes is sort of a post-alt-right figure, has leaned much more on this Christ is King message and things like that to kind of superficially pad what had come before with something that is tried and tested as having a bit more of a deeper meaning. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That is something where you can, you can always say, well, Jesus says to forgive, and Jesus wants peace, and Jesus is about love, and these are all things that you can say with no meaning behind them and continue to do the same dark nihilistic shit. Like I said, we have a story coming out soon that is going to show some pretty what I'd say, like terroristic, pro-terrorism, accelerationist threads in that movement. You can still do that stuff, but have this kind of like, well, Christ is king, and we love each other, and it's really about love and things like that. It seems like a pivot that had to be made to even exist, and exist he has. He's been very successful, I think, at kind of pulling together the type of people who would otherwise try to be in Identity Europa, possibly NPI, but like they're just a little bit more scruffy than that. I think that was Richard Spencer's organization, for those who don't know, which had a lot of crossover with Identity Europa anyway. We're not talking about a lot of people here in general. But yeah, that's what I really think it is. It's just like they had to put this Christ is King thing on top of something that everyone had processed as being very dark and nihilistic, and that's not an appealing movement that has a lot of legs, that can't really go much further. And one last point is, it's not just Christ that they use, but Fuentes also uses Trump, and because Trump, I think we can all agree, in addition to being a very scary figure, is an entertainer. He's entertaining. He entertains many people. He wouldn't have been as successful as he was if he were not. Right. People ironically talk about how good a poster he was and things like that. So Trump is able to take like a very dark thing, like anti-democratic, hard right, arguably neo-fascist politics, and put as all successful fascists do, put an entertaining display on for people and things like that. Fuentes also uses that entertainment of many of these guys who are kind of down in the dumps now, the Charlottesville types, are stuck in this hating Trump mode. They hate Trump, and they're still in the kind of atheist mode. They are just subsumed with darkness, and why not Hitler? Like the sour grapes, almost like you would associate with what people call tankies or something like that, where it doesn't have a lot of way up,
right.
for them.
Right. There's a low ceiling that they get hit.
Yeah.
Right.
So Fuentes is opportunistic. He's smart. He understands that, like the Christ, the Trump, they open doors for him.
Right.
They don't keep him limited.
Right. I wonder. It seems like this is definitely part of it, but I wonder. You brought up, Charlottesville being such a PR crisis for these guys. I think it's has to do with the fact that the loudest ones have found that they found a nice little niche full-time lifestyle where they can say this stuff and get people to send them money. But if they're an actual martyr for the cause that they're loudly trumpeting all the time, then they can't make that money and take advantage of all their fans. Right. They'll spend their life in jail, or at least a large amount of time in jail, and that's no fun.
Yeah, I think that we're all kind of absorbing right now, you know, a very interesting cultural phenomenon going on, because there's like these three trials happening at the same time right now. There's McMichaels and what's his name for the who on trial for for the murder of, we're going to find out, alleged murder of Arbery, and I have my opinions. The Rittenhouse trial, and this Sines versus Kessler lawsuit, which took a very long time to get out, which is interesting because most of the energy and intention is focused around this Rittenhouse phenomenon, and Rittenhouse is like very much, a post Charlottesville figure. He was what is he, like 14 when that happened, something like that, and most attention is on that kind of hard right GOP thing that blends that little taste of fascism that you feel with the GOP every time they almost do anything now is on trial there. And a lot, I think there's sort of a general consensus that what's happening with, in Sines versus Kessler, granted, many of these figures were severely hurt by IFA's case against them. Like, they've already spent a lot of money. They're broke already, in part because of this. So the trial has already succeeded in many ways, and so that's it's already been a huge success against the accused there. But also, almost all those figures, like the Richard Spencer, Cantwell, Elliot Klein from Identity Europa, who's basically disappeared, Anglin, these are all really, diminished public figures from where they were at that time. And what comes to mind for me in looking at the phenomenon and the levels of interest, very tough to compete with the Rittenhouse show. Everyone is clued into that right now. But it strikes me that everybody who's kind of involved in the far right that we see as an influencer, somebody who is out there and whatever, these people are ultimately totally disposable. They're just out there to have their lives destroyed. They're willing to volunteer, step up, and fill a void, and they can get a good run going. You look at somebody like Candace Owens, who is clearly she has found a real niche for herself, just in terms of anti-mask stuff and whatever. I remember she was doing that. I went into Whole Foods and I didn't wear a mask. Remember, it was very early in the pandemic. Right. Her thing.
Well, she serves a very obvious purpose, and there's not much competition there, I guess you can say, in terms of people trying to take that spot from her.
Yeah, but she has no talent. That is just apparent to anyone. And the thing is, if something should happen, these people, nobody cancels anybody on the right, but they're totally disposable. Someone will just find a new one, and they'll just jack them up with views and follows, and then you can use programs to give them likes and retweets and things like that, and they'll just find new ones. They're completely disposable. It's whoever wants to do it. And you look at somebody like Spencer, who I think is showing signals that he wants to take a much more low profile life. He wants to not be the white nationalist leader that he aspired to be before. You look at somebody like Spencer, anytime he talks, he is clearly somebody who these guys used. Jack Posobiec is somebody who used to appear at all of Spencer's events and wanted to be close to him as he was building his brand. And as soon as Spencer became too toxic, gone down the toilet.
Right.
We're not really talking about Fuentes right now.
No, but that's actually what makes
this is important.
Right. It absolutely is. But that's also what sort of makes Nick Fuentes so interesting, because he has been one of those rare individuals who's gone the whole distance and continues to maintain his influence in that world. He's not been diminished. He's not become a joke within that movement. In fact, I think he's slowly been rising within the ranks, and he's always sort of been a an influencer in that world in a way where, like, Richard Spencer, like you said, like, Fuentes came around, I would say, in terms of at least like, right after Trump, and all these figures came, in like 2015, 2016, after Trump's announcement, he's running for president. And here's Fuentes still going at it, where other people have made turns to other things, or have tried to disappear, or have been like, just basically not looked at anymore by their peers as someone with any real grip in the movement. It's been interesting to see Fuentes, actually. That's why I think I've done so many shows on him, honestly, and the Groyper movement, because the dude's he's persevered in that little world of his in a way that his contemporaries haven't.
I think the best parallel for Fuentes is in a sort of post-Charlottesville, pre-Charlottesville landscape. It's actually not somebody who is in front of a camera most of the time. I think the best parallel for Nick Fuentes is actually Andrew Anglin, because like Anglin, oh God, I always hate to do this because I'm always like, oh my God, what do I do? Like Anglin, there is, please don't snip this in a way, whatever. These guys have there's something that they have in terms of ability to stir a crowd. Anglin has some chops as a blogger. I don't know how to say that in a way that is whatever.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. I think the best one to use. I think
he's among the most diabolical human beings I've ever seen. But he is very good at being punchy, and produces a deluge of content that is geared towards building a community of people. And he's able to get that hate and that anger to get together. People get together in his forums and his things like that. And he is able to stir that up with his blogs. And Fuentes similarly can rip off like a stream you watch him talk. He talks for like an hour, no breaks, just keeps going, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, right? Most of these people are not as good as he is at doing that. And he also signals towards building a community of fans. Right. Both he and Anglin are very similar, even though one used blogs and the other uses the live stream.
Right. I usually make that same argument with some of these guys who've been able to keep it going. With Alex Jones is who I use. The guy obviously has a talent on the microphone. He's very charismatic. Obviously, what he's chosen to do with those talents, horrific, horrible, shitty as can be. But this is someone who, could have made something of himself if he decided to go a completely different route, because he has the chops in his preferred medium. But, he chose to do this instead.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Jones is like so important to the current moment. I don't think there's any person who has had a bigger influence on the exact two people we just talked about, like Jones on Anglin and on Fuentes. And going back to this Vax Watch thing, which I saw yesterday, and things like that, it is like quintessential Jones, in the sense that there's something about it is tethered to reality. We're a community. We're talking about stuff that's in the news. We're talking about we have a place to launch our anger into the night. And there's also at the heart of it something so extremely dark and paranoid that is just that's the engine that's going to keep running whatever we do. And Jones was so good at that, going back to his very early days. And Anglin similarly had a skill, I guess you would call. What a skill. I mean, it's just an evil skill. It's like a cobra has a skill at just taking everything and making a narrative, this like paranoid, they're out to get you, conspiratorial narrative about every single thing in the news. And that's what, that's what Vax Watch really is. And that's why it's such a great vehicle for people like Fuentes to do, to build a fascist movement.
Right.
The paranoia.
Right. Jared Holt is back in the YouTube live stream saying, all these guys feel like Walking Dead memes these days. Groypers at least. Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's a great way to put it. So, Michael, thank you for joining me tonight. I want to ask you this though before I let you go. What do you think is next for the Groypers and these white supremacist movements as a whole? Do you think there'll be a lot more, especially as oddly enough, as more people get vaccinated and more things and opportunities open up, more big events come together, more things for these guys to try to disrupt or sort of piggyback off of? Do you think they continue jumping on the anti-vaxxer movement as a sort of a way to try to spread their message without having to openly say the white supremacist shit up front?
Yes. How about that? Like, I do think that they're gonna ride this as far as they're gonna take it. I do think we are currently at a low point for the Democrats that I think it obscures some. I have nothing positive to say about what's going on with that, but they're going to have some stuff passed, I'm sure, which is going to get people's feeling a little bit better. I don't know. They see people say inflation's going to get a little better. I don't know, but I think next year one thing is going to definitely happen is things should be reopening a little bit more, right? I mean, COVID should be going away. And I think what we're going to transition to, and this may be, master of the obvious here, sorry if it is, but you're going to see a very, very loud drumbeat for the midterms that is going to become a cacophonous roar towards the end around this time next year, starting for, Trump, should Trump live. There's no reason to believe he wouldn't live, but he's an old man. And the desire for him to run is extremely palpable. I don't see anyone else who can really, galvanize. He's a singular force in American politics, and the drumbeat to bring Trump back is going to be just cacophonous by this time next year. It's going to be out of control. If you recall, the midterms of 2018. These guys were really pushing the caravan stuff. Do you remember that? I'm sure we talked about it at some point. And there was a lot of you could just feel from behind the scenes, like Stephen Miller being like, hey, there's 8 guys out there with backpacks. It's a caravan, right? It was really just trying anything to get the caravan. And then Fox was running this stuff. It's like, what are we going to do about the caravan? And they would the picture of whatever 50 people that were crossing a bridge at that time.
And then they tried to bring it back whenever there was some sort of election they felt like it would be necessary. We've interestingly, a couple days before the most recent special election in Ohio, we've got word that there's a caravan headed towards.
Right. Yes. This idea MS-13 was just going to crash through your living room at some point. It was almost like the Antifa Civil War that never came in that November. Just quickly on that point. I do think they're going to probably try to, they got to see about immigration, how that's going to play. I don't think they were getting enough juice out of it, before earlier in the year. I feel like people were not, it was just not getting people going enough, partly because they need Trump out talking about it. He's the guy who talks about immigration, gets people scared about it because he does his carnival barker thing. But they're going to start, the drumbeat's going to get very, very loud for Trump by this time next year. And it's going to be a roar. And they are going to be, depending on where Trump is, he may start doing rallies and things like that. I don't know if he's going to actually, there's also a chance he just takes the money and runs. That's non-zero. Anything is possible, right? There's all kinds of deep state type conspiracies that I have in my head. Like, what if Trump is like behind the scenes, be like, all right, don't prosecute me. I'm just gonna go through this thing. I'm gonna take the energy out of this movement and not run. Don't you worry about it. Like, so maybe there's like, who knows, right?
Right.
That's my tinfoil hat thing. I mean, who knows, right? But I do think that the desire for revenge by this time next year is, for the 2020 election is going to be really palpable, and that's going to overshadow any kind of anti-vax type thing or anything like that. And we're going to see who is going to kind of emerge, from the current crop of people out there. It's kind of a mess right now, and I would say that the biggest danger out there is actually the radical is the sort of Rittenhouse right, that this radicalized normie thing that people are talking about, rather than these neo-Nazi white nationalist types. Fuentes is still kind of he's straddling both right now, relatively effectively. But that's the thing that is a little bit more concerning. It's like, do you remember the like in Richmond, I think it was, they had a kind of a Second Amendment march where like all these people with guns and things like that.
Yes, and wasn't that the one where they, there were threats to like the one socialist state senator in Virginia, and he had to go into
So there was that, and then there were these, like, if you remember, also, so much has happened in the last 4 years. It's like writing the history of this is like, I feel like I can retire after a certain point and just write history books, right? From like I have the stuff I've lived through, like reporting this, but like, because it's like we forget, it's just too crazy. But like, if you remember, like also in the anti-lockdown stuff, this feels like a million years ago because it precedes the George Floyd summer.
Oh, this was a huge. This was like the beginning of the right using the pandemic to its advantage. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, exactly. So like Gretchen Whitmer, office, and she has this thing because she is, I think an attractive woman who is a governor in a Democratic thing that there's like this just like people with guns like just going into. I mean, like that is my like. Framing of that memory is just like, we got to get Whitmer. And I think that energy, that the gun rally, the Rittenhouse right is really going to be something that we're going to see a lot more of in the next few years. That is like the biggest threat to me on the extremist tip. It's just this idea of vigilante thing, just January 6th, like we're just going to come in and we're going to take it, and we don't like you and we're going to come and take it. And they don't, to the disappointment of many of these ideological neo-Nazi types or whatever, they're not going to have their type of perfect politics. They're just going to be angry, mostly white guys with guns.
Right. Michael Edison Hayden of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Always a pleasure when you join this show. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight. Please feel free to take as much time as you'd like to plug any upcoming stories, any upcoming anything, where people can find you online. The floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, so I have a story with Hannah and Megan coming out in a bit about this overlap, this accelerationist overlap between Epic and Nick Fuentes' group and InfoWars. And I have a really, like, the most amount of time I've spent this year on something I have spent working on a long essay, 5,000-word essay. Megan Squire and I have worked on for just draft after draft about the far right's usage and profit off of cryptocurrency, which is going to get me more trolls than I think I've ever.
When is this one coming out? Because you got to come back. I don't know if you know this about me, but crypto and NFTs and the blockchain have quickly become my issue number one.
I do. Well, you're going to be, I think, quite staggered to, Jaron Lanier talks about that, that it's well known among tech people that many of the first people to like hoard Bitcoin were
Oh yeah.
not exactly savory people.
Right.
And we are going to show who some of them likely are. And they are very much Southern Poverty Law Center type people. And they have made millions of dollars by hoarding Bitcoin. And some of them very smartly. Some of them are quite obvious. Some of them might be obvious to you, like Stefan Molyneux, and some of them are not. So that is coming. I don't know. It's going to take I think that's still working its way through edits. I edited a story by Alex Koch that's coming that I'm really excited about. This is me stepping from behind the thing to do, a different role. I like it going to behind instead of an actor. I'm a director on that one. And that is, I think, about, some big bucks behind some anti-LGBTQ folks. And then the next one that I was going to mention is that I went to this Nick Fuentes rally because I am writing a very long essay about everything that has happened since January 6th. So that is part of that. And that's it. And my Twitter is Michael E. Hayden. That's it. I talk too much, but you invited me on here to do that.
No, I mean, I love it. I love it. That is one of the reasons I love having you on. But also, I want to make this clear, being that you just dropped a whole bunch of upcoming stuff. You have an open invite to this show.
That's right. We will talk crypto. We were going to talk crypto.
Sounds great.
You have to protect me from the trolls when it happens, because all these guys with activated eyes are going to just be like, "Oh, bro, you mad? You mad? They're making money."
You're gonna get two things, and trust me, they're nothing compared to, I'm sure, what you've already been, from other groups.
I'm more scared of the crypto people than I am.
No, you're gonna get the people saying, "You just don't understand it. Let me explain it to you." And who are then going to repeat exactly what you just said about crypto. And then two, you're gonna get the people who will just outright throw you away by saying, "Have fun staying poor," because they look.
Yes, have fun staying poor. But I have to disclose whether I own cryptocurrency in this or not, and I have to disclose that I do actually own some Ethereum, which I'm not like a crypto person, but I had to disclose it in this. And because, whatever. So we will see if they spare me on that, or if they're just like, "I told you that Ethereum was like a shit lib." Like,
I've had to do the same, and I have, I've a few, I have more than Ethereum, not a lot. I've scattered throughout different ones to try out different shit. I have a lot of literally pennies in like shit coins when I was doing my my piece about all the influencers hawking all the pump and dump schemes.
Oh my God, yes.
So so I can tell you that doesn't matter. They're gonna pretend that you're just salty because you didn't get in when you should have, which completely is a great way for them to avoid the whole bulk of what you're arguing about it, which has nothing to do with the riches. Like I always say, like if you got rich off of crypto, that's nice. That's not the reason why I criticize it. Would it have been nice if I got rich off of crypto? Sure. The same as the way it would have been nice if I won the lottery or hit the jackpot at the casino. Like it's nothing to do with they never. Yeah, but we'll talk about that later.
We could talk about it in a whole different show. What I will say is I'm not saying anything here except for one that some of the people who invested in it very early are white nationalists and neo-Nazis. And they made a lot of money, and it's revolutionized the white supremacist movement. Period. End of story. Right. These guys have a lot more money than they ever did before, and that's it. And they're also able to do things undetected. Fuentes is deep in Litecoin, for instance. So whereas it's about a 20% adoption in the general public, I would say that it's almost 100% adoption in the extreme far right.
I think 20% for the general public is extremely generous as well.
Generous. Okay, yeah. So that's padded maybe. So like, okay.
What people forget is that, and crypto people never say this because they love to tout all the numbers that this is going to be the next big thing. Anyone can have who knows how many wallets. So the idea that like you could count the wallets out there is how much people have, like how many people have, is bullshit. Like one person could have like 100 wallets, and there are people who have very many wallets. So
and also there are people like Anglin, who has like hundreds of wallets, and it's largely because this stuff that he apparently does where it's like just money laundering essentially.
oh right, because these guys have to exchange their money of the future for actual real money that they can use today. And
Right.
I'm assuming they're not allowed to do that through the regular exchanges because of who they are. So they're definitely going through side channels to trade money, which is illegal.
Megan Squire is so good. She's just the best. Like our team is getting so good. We just added Jason Wilson, who rocks. Like this is just like I'm so proud of the team we built. We unionized, and we like after a lot of scandals that happened in SPLC right when I joined, or in 2019, I was like, what have I done? Right. But we've like really rebuilt, and it's like it's just such a great team. It's like Megan, Hannah, Cassie, Rachel, Carol, Rivas. We've got a really good team. We just added Jason. And I was just say is we are going to, Megan it continues to provide stuff that you would not get anywhere else on the far right. And one of the things that's just so amazing in this essay that I got to tout real quick is that like she isolated payments that Anglin made to Weave every month as salary on the blockchain. Like pretty cool, actually. It's not like it's just like one detail, a small detail in a very long story, but we would never have that without her. She's just so good.
All right. I'm really looking forward to that piece. Folks, you heard it here first. In the coming weeks, Michael Edison Hayden and the Southern Poverty Law Center finally unmask Satoshi.
He's Richard Spencer.
Oh, that would be,
no, I'm just kidding.
honestly would not, if you were to, it wouldn't surprise. I mean, if you
I think Richard wishes right now, actually, that
if you read the, his white paper early, like that he put out there on Bitcoin, a lot of, the same sort of, gold bug type stuff that libertarians, obviously, but it's not so far fetched is what I'm saying. If it was to be. Not Spencer, but someone in that realm. It wouldn't surprise me. Have a great night, Mike.
All right, dude. Good talking to you.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
All right, folks. Don't go anywhere. We have a lot more show for you. By the way, I think you could tell that I get extra giddy nowadays, and it's been like this for a few months now, when we get into the crypto, NFT, blockchain stuff. And I have been more seriously than ever trying to get the ball rolling on doing a show about all that stuff. Like, not an episode. A secondary show parallel to Doomed that would focus on all this. And I got to do it. It's just not, I don't think I could. And I'm seeing, I don't know if you've been following me. If you follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/MattBinder, @MattBinder. The way all these mainstream platforms like Discord and Reddit and Twitter are dabbling in those worlds. And you hear all these tech bros and VC types all pushing really hard for Web3. I think now is the time more than ever to start. I mean, you have to start. Like, you have to pay attention to this shit now. Like, think about anything and everything good about the internet. I know there's a lot of shitty stuff out there, but think about what the internet has done that is a net positive. Even these platforms that we mentioned that we always crap on, like the idea that, Web 2.0, the social web, had all these problems, but in the big picture, it did connect people. It did help spread communications to the point where, we can talk to anyone, anywhere, and knowledge can be shared. Again, it gets perverted and diverted, and all sorts of terrible things have happened too. But the basis of it is, a pretty worthwhile thing to build out and create. Web3 seeks to take all of that and put a price tag on every single piece of it, so that everyone who has the money can own whatever it is that you like. I mean, it's like, imagine, like I brought up on the last week's Twitch only show that I did last Tuesday, the Bloomberg piece where they imagined a world where, imagine Mario Kart comes out, the next installment of Mario Kart comes out, and you go to play online, but you can't be Mario because somebody's already bought the Mario NFT. So they have the exclusive rights to be Mario while playing Mario Kart. Want to be Luigi instead? Nope, can't. Someone already grabbed Luigi. You couldn't afford it. It cost $100,000 to be him. That's what this whole thing is headed towards, if we let it. So I will be doing that for sure. But let's go to the second half of the show. But before we do that, patreon.com/MattBinder to support this show. If you can become a patron, I would greatly appreciate it. We really trying to build things out. This would help fund the time needed to do that secondary show that I think is super important, that I honestly really should hold off for like the next milestone, like the next patron goal we hit, which I would like to be 500, but I can't. I think it's too important to hold on that. I think people need to be talking about this stuff ASAP. So if you can help get that going, patreon.com/MattBinder. I'm still demonetized on YouTube. But you can go to my Twitter profile on the app, and there's a tip jar option where you can click and see where you can send me one-off donations if you'd like. If you can't do a subscription, that's cool, but would like to give me money, you could do Cash App, Venmo. It's all on the Twitter tip jar. I'll find an easier way to get that to you guys too. But that's where you can do that for now. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/MattBinder. I didn't do a Twitch only stream this week, but I will be doing one next week. I had some things come up, personal stuff with the family and home and things like that. I need to take care of that, so I didn't get a chance to do one this week. I'll make it up to you guys. I always do. So twitch.tv/MattBinder. Doomedcast.com for the podcast version of this show. What else? ratethispodcast.com/doomed for all the links where you could leave podcast reviews. I think that's all I'm gonna drop for now. So I got the Patreon. youtube.com/MattBinder. Subscribe there if you're not already. Let me thank people who became patrons over the past week. When was the last show? The 4th? All right, So these are the people who just recently joined the Patreon. Will L, Evan B, Jesus, Rocky R, Jack G, Jason L, and just now the most recent patron, John P. Thank you all so much for supporting this show and becoming patrons. Again, patreon.com/MattBinder. And I am a Twitch affiliate now. And these people became subscribers on Twitch. Again, if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, if you pay for Amazon Prime already, you have a free membership each month where you can give basically free money that Amazon gifts you to your favorite Twitch streamer. And these people, some people did that with their Amazon Prime subscription to me. Some people even just paid to become Twitch subscribers to my channel. Again, twitch.tv/MattBinder. And the people who became subscribers there, Fake Manrique, Slake Hatch, Rach B1, Rebel Without a Cause, Wolf Cat with a Gun, Hey, it's Vina, and I think, we got Dr. Gus, I think I'm getting in the spinach monster. I think I'm getting in the territory of who I name dropped the last time. So there we go. Thank you all so much for the support wherever you can support this show. So now let's go to the second half of the show. If you are a freebie listener to the podcast, this is where I say goodbye to you. For live stream viewers, that's all of you watching live right now. And of course, for patrons, you can stick around. Just give me a second to get a drink, refill, queue up all the clips I'd like to show you guys for the next segment. And let's do this. See you all next time, everybody who isn't sticking around, on Doomed. All right, we are back. We are back. We are back. I got so many clips today. I got a lot of clips I want to get to today. I'm gonna open the phones. I would probably just take a few calls, but let me get to some clips first. So that way, after I've worn myself out with the clips and breaking them down and doing those segments, the callers can help take some of the pressure off of me and let me get a breather while they're talking to me. So I will call into the phone system. If you're on Skype, you can basically call in via, open up your Skype app and search Doomed Live. I'm also going to be setting up another way for people to call into the show very shortly. But let's get to these clips first. Let's do this first. Let me cue them up. Give me 1 second. You're going to see a clip from last week. Oh, there's Tim Pool's face from last week. We don't want to do Tim Pool again, although I'm sure that'd be fun. Let's... All right, we got to do this. We got to do the Rittenhouse stuff, right? All right, let me cue it up. Do we want to start with the Rittenhouse crying? I mean, these are all going to be... What do we got here? We got Joe, the racist thing here. We got the Veterans Day thing. We got the judge yelling. Ring. All right, let's start with... Let's start with the crying. Let's start with the crying. And let me also get my notes up here on this guy. So let me get ready here. Okay, here we go. So you've probably at some point been paying attention this week to the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Again, Kyle Rittenhouse is the young man who showed up to the Black Lives Matter protests in the wake of the police killing of George Floyd in Kenosha, Wisconsin, over the summer. He came with I think it was I don't remember, was it an AR-15, I believe? I covered it extensively then, actually. I did a whole episode walking through all the video footage. I did a piece for my newsletter, misinfo.com, misinformation.com, looking through all of the rumors and disinfo and misinformation that was flying around about the what happened when Kyle Rittenhouse basically opened fire and killed 2 protesters and injuring a third one. And this is a guy who long idolized law enforcement, as you've probably heard. And then he showed up. He went to Kenosha. He does not live in Kenosha. He doesn't even live in Wisconsin. He lives out of state. His mom drove him into the protest where he hooked up with a bunch of militia guys and Boogaloo boys who were there to protect property. And he ended up killing 2 people. I can go through the whole story over again, but what I really want to focus on today is not Kyle Rittenhouse. It is this judge, Judge Schroeder, Bruce Schroeder. And there's been a lot of criticism about this guy online. You've probably seen it. Early on in the beginnings of the trial, he said that prosecutors could not call the people Rittenhouse shot and killed victims, but that the defense could call them looters and arsonists. Again, it makes you don't know that they were looters and arsonists just because they were there at the event where there was some looting and arson that took place. Does not mean that those 2 individuals were taking part in that. Also, I would say that the idea that they aren't victims when Kyle Rittenhouse shot and killed them is also odd, but that was one of the things people were talking about. Another thing was that there was he would not allow a video to be admitted that basically showed that Kyle Rittenhouse would speak about shooting people prior to going up. I think it is actually based on where Rittenhouse is from, to Kenosha. Again, this is a young guy who wanted to be a cop really bad, so he went to the scene of what some people call a riot to basically play cop. And by play cop, I mean bring a real firearm and kill people. So he wasn't allowed to, the prosecution wasn't allowed to admit that tape. There was a number of things that people were questioning this judge about. But then this week, this judge really started to show his true colors. And we're going to start with the things that, we're going to go in order here. And as the week progressed and more people online were going, hey, this Judge Schroeder guy, something is off here. He clearly is siding or has some sort of, feeling for the side of the defense, for Kyle Rittenhouse. He seems pretty biased. And as these critiques continued throughout the week, you had some people who were experienced in courtrooms, some lawyers saying, yeah, this guy is something's not right with this judge. And then you had some others, even some people with big influence online in the law world saying that, actually, this isn't out of the ordinary. What do you know? You're not usually in the courtroom. I'm a lawyer, and I can see what this judge is doing, and it's no way out of the ordinary from what we've seen in other trials with other judges. And, I digress. I'm not a lawyer. I don't find myself in court all too often. So, people who are in that position do have that experience. I would say, as you watch these clips, you'll see that I think maybe some of these things you can argue is not completely out of the ordinary, if not like totally couth to do. But B, I think you can also start to see that some of the stuff damn well does become weird. And then C, if the ordinary stuff is happening to the point where you don't think this is weird, where people who aren't part of that world are seeing this for the first time and saying this is weird, then maybe it shouldn't be like ordinary. Like the system is clearly fucked up and messed up. I mean, we know this, but perhaps it is even more corrupt than most people even realized. So let's watch some of these clips here. So let's start with Rittenhouse taking the stand. And the tears start to flow. And the judge, Bruce Schroeder, decides that this is where we need to take a break because the poor kid's gotta need to take a minute.
Describe what happens.
Once I take that step back, I look over my shoulder and Mr. Rosenbaum was now running from my right side, and I was cornered from in front of me with Mr. Zeminski, and there were.
Listen, I'm not someone to usually critique how someone is showing emotion. But I mean, listen, I have worked with actors before. I went to film school. I've worked on a number of shoots. I know when someone is trying to work up a cry for the camera, and you can clearly see that here. I mean, he wants the tears to flow, but they're just not flowing. I mean, his lawyers might have told him that you should, get in with the jury here by making them feel remorseful for you. You're just a kid, you get emotional. I don't know. But clearly he decided that this was where he wanted to break down, and he's really trying hard here to make it happen. And he's blubbering, but the tears never quite flow, if you ask me.
There were 3 people right there.
Take a deep breath, pal.
That's what That's what I run.
We're gonna just take it.
That moment caught me. That moment I don't think many people have really paid attention to. Right there. And I brought this up in the Majority Report earlier today when I was on the show. There's an episode, and this is, I'm gonna bring up the Brady Bunch here. I'm from the Nick at Night generation. There's an episode of the Brady Bunch where Carol Brady gets into a fender bender with this guy, and he takes her to court over it. And he shows up in court that day with wearing a neck brace. And Carol Brady's clearly shocked because this guy did not show any sort of injuries at the scene of the accident, the fender bender. And this guy's really playing up that he's got this big injury. And just when it seems like the case might go in his favor, Carol Brady's husband, Mike, throws his briefcase on the floor. And the guy with the neck brace is startled by the briefcase and turns his head, clearly showing that the whole thing was fake. He was playing it up. He was acting because he was able to turn his neck. Carol Brady wins the case. I don't think the case is going to go in the way of the defense here. The case is going to go the way of the prosecution here and the way it went for Carol Brady. I think things are looking good for Kyle Rittenhouse in the defense, obviously, because, that's how it always looked, to be quite honest, because that's how these things work. You can basically look for trouble in this. In the United States of America, you can go looking for trouble. And when you find trouble, all you have to do is say you feared for your safety due to that trouble, even though you were looking for it. So you had to then shoot, and you'll pretty much get off scot-free. It's amazing, isn't it? That's what that moment reminded me of. He's finally getting the blubbering going, even though he never quite gets the tears rolling. Blubbering's going. The judge chimes in, which I don't know if he was expecting that, and he either turns because he was shocked to hear the judge say something, or he shuts off because he's got to hear what the judge says, right? Is the judge believing this shit? But clearly, if you're crying for real, you can't just, stop that shit like that. But watch.
That's where I run.
We're gonna just take it. Time for our break anyway.
Yeah, right there. See that? You saw that?
We're gonna just take it.
Yeah. All right. So the judge declares that we're going to take a break.
Time for our break anyway. You can just relax for a minute, sir.
Which is interesting because during Gage Rose I forget his last name. I'm sorry. The third individual shot who survived, but Kyle Rittenhouse took like a chunk of his arm. The street medic who basically was the last to approach Kyle Rittenhouse after he shot and killed 2 people. He took the stand the day before, and he started to cry real tears when recounting the events. And I mean, you can see the tears roll down his face. And the judge never asked for a break. He never said, "Let's give this poor guy a minute." But okay, let's say the judge wanted poor Kyle to take a moment, so he can collect his thoughts. Fine, okay. But then we go to this, and we get this is another moment. Now this is the main moment where where some lawyers were saying this happens. Judges get upset at the defense or the prosecution all the time. Let's watch this clip.
So why
testimony, Your Honor?
Pardon me?
That was before the
Don't
testimony.
get brazen with me.
This to be clear, this is the prosecution that Judge Schroeder is yelling at.
So why
Testimony, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
That was before the
Don't
testimony.
get brazen with me. You knew very well. You know very well that an attorney can't go into these types of areas when the judge has already ruled without asking outside the presence of the jury to do so. So don't give me that. That's number one. Number two, this is propensity evidence. I said at the time that I made my ruling, and I'll repeat again now for you, I see no similarity between talking about wishing you had your AR gun, which you don't have, so that you could fire rounds at these thought to be shoplifters, and the incidents in these cases, which are not, there's nothing in your case that suggests the defendant was lying in wait to shoot at somebody.
I mean, the videos where he said that he wanted to do these sorts of things, which is what this whole argument's about. And then you got, obviously, the fact that he went down there and specifically put himself in a position to do that. I mean, there is a video that I played last year when in that episode where I went through all the video clips out there, where Rittenhouse tries to play medic and asks if anyone needs any medical attention, which, by the way, he never gave anyone medical attention down there. But he, under the guise of doing that, he goes around saying if anyone needs medical attention. And 2 protesters he comes across tells him on video to get the fuck out of here because they saw him moments ago pointing a gun at a few protesters or rioters, whatever you want to call them, who were on a car. Now, again, if you could disagree with people standing on a car or whatever it was they were doing, but that does not give Kyle Rittenhouse, who has no authority, the right to go over and point a gun at them. You know, it's so the idea that this is not a guy who went looking for this to live out this sort of cop fantasy he had is bullshit. But that's what the judge ruled, and I wonder why. Well, let's keep watching.
Or reflecting upon the shooting for a vast amount of time. Every one of the incidents involves matters that involve seconds in time. So I commented at the time, I don't see the similarity, and I don't see the similarity now. If it's not similar, that's the whole rule.
Right. So again, if you are a lawyer who wants to argue that the judge was in the right here to, then fine. To me, this wasn't such a big one. This was one that took people by surprise because of how clearly he was. A lot of people have noticed this judge is quite chatty, really taking advantage of the limelight here, that all the mainstream media coverage that this court case is attracting. But to me, this was, not the worst of it. If you are a lawyer and say this is normal, I could believe that. But this is where we start to get a little bit into a bizarro world, if you ask me. That same day, a phone goes off in the courtroom. Let's listen in.
the actions that I had talked about were done in bad faith.
Did you guys hear that? Let's listen one more time. And see, by the way, who has to shut his phone off.
The actions that I had talked about were done in bad faith.
Oh, look at that. Oh. So this judge, Schroeder, had to shut off his phone, which just happened to have the ringtone, Lee Greenwood's "God Bless the USA," a song that's quite popular with conservatives, regularly played at Trump rallies. Bit weird. I mean, again, not the biggest infraction, but I think it does add a little bit of background to where this judge might lie in terms of why he sort of why he's made some of the decisions he's made in this courtroom so far. But again, I'll give the benefit of the doubt here. It's not the worst. Again, if this was all of it, I'd say, terrible coincidence that doesn't look too good on the judge. But then we go further, and today we get this judge making a oddly out of the blue racist joke here for really no reason.
What's that you want to say?
So they're going to pause for lunch, and I don't know why he thinks this is appropriate, but here we go.
Let's hope for 1 o'clock. I don't know. Hope the Asian food isn't coming. Isn't on one of those boats in Long Beach Harbor. But let's.
Hope the Asian food isn't on one of those boats in Long Beach Harbor. Okay. Very weird. But okay, you might say, still, all right, this is not the end-all be-all here. But then we get to this here, from today.
I wanted to.
This judge decided to acknowledge that today is Veterans Day. And he asks the courtroom if there's any veterans in the court. Again, weird, bizarre, but let's see what happens, and maybe we could understand why this wasn't so appropriate.
I wanted to just observe that it's Veterans Day. And any veterans in the room, on the jury, or anywhere else? Well, that's unusual not to have at least somebody in here. But Dr. Black is what branch?
Army, sir.
Dr. Black is the one person in the courtroom who is a veteran. You might be asking yourself, oh, okay, why is that so weird, Matt? Well, Dr. Black is the very next witness for the defense. The only person, the only veteran in that courtroom is one of Kyle Rittenhouse's witnesses. Let's continue though. What does the judge do upon finding out that, ooh, this is weird? This is awkward, I should say. The one person who's a veteran is the defense's next witness. Ooh, what should I do here so I don't look like I'm partial or leading or leaning in any sort of specific way? What do I do here?
Okay, and I think we give a round of applause to the people who've served us. Okay, so you may proceed.
Literally leading a round of applause for the defense's next witness, in which the jury took part in that applause. Now, Matt, how would you expect the judge here to know that Dr. Black, this defense witness, is a veteran? And, well, he didn't know that he was going to be the only veteran. Sure, of course. He didn't know that there would be no other veterans in the courtroom. Fine. But he knew that he was a veteran because witnesses are presented to the judge, and the judge knows there's a witness list. They know who the witnesses are, and they know their background. So without a doubt, this judge knew that the defense's witness was a veteran, decided to take the time right before the defense called this witness up there to ask if there were any veterans, and then to proceed to give a round of applause to this the defense's witness, with the additional knowledge that he's the only guy in that room they're applauding. And listen, the critics of this judge aren't the only ones who realize that, man, this guy sure seems biased towards Kyle Rittenhouse. You don't even have to take our word for it, because please, these guys clearly have a vendetta against Kyle Rittenhouse in defense. So this judge is probably quite, not biased towards Rittenhouse at all. I don't believe that for a second. Again, don't take it from me and the critics. Judge Bruce Schroeder's critics. Take it from Kyle Rittenhouse's own mother.
The judge is very fair. People that I talked to that lives in Kenosha all their lives, they told me that Judge Schroeder is a very fair judge, and he doesn't allow no nonsense in his courtroom.
All right. Yeah, very, very fair judge, says the woman who drove Kyle Rittenhouse to the scene where he would go on to kill 2 people and maim a third. I mean, we know where this trial is headed. I mean, we knew from the beginning. We knew early on. If I was the prosecution, I would really be fighting for this to go before a different judge. Really, it's unbelievable. If it's going to go the way that, if it's going to go towards Rittenhouse, it should do it in a way where at least it's not so one-sided here, because this is getting quite ridiculous, honestly. A very fair judge. And let's do let's get to this. Let's do the where am I? And I got all these windows open, all these videos up. Give me a second here to just get things in order. Okay, what do you guys want next? Let's do a poll. Let's do a little poll. Do you guys want some Astro World, or do you want some Jimmy Dore? I'll do both, but what do you guys want next? I think we can do Astro World just to get it out of. Let's cue it. Let's cue it up here. Let's go with let's get this up. Where is it? Dun, 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 dun. All right, so I mean, by now you've surely heard of the Astro World Festival in Texas, in Houston, the Travis Scott show, where basically, 8 people were basically crushed and killed at the event. They had those casualties that night. We now know today that there is a 9th victim who died from her injuries. So a total of 9 people died at this show, where basically 50,000 people went to. And when Travis Scott, the headliner, came on, the force of the crowd basically ended up turning into like a stampede, and 9 people died. We got people criticizing, Travis Scott for not stopping the show. To me, the real, obviously you could think he was a dick and disrespectful to his fans, and of course, sure. But To me, the real people we look at here is the security company and the promoter. I've read that, and as someone who's attended many fests throughout my life, we know that there weren't safety precautions taken. I've heard that the security was not well trained and possibly understaffed. People who've put together fest have said that the fact that there was no side acts to help disperse at least some of that crowd to side stages during the headlining act helped put everyone in this situation. Also, usually there are segments made in the audience, like as a crowd control measure. I've attended fests where there's a whole soundboard set up placed right in the middle of where the crowd would gather. So you sort of get the audience cut off into little sections. You sort of have like 3 or 4, natural sections that are, that naturally flow due to where you put, different risers or scaffolding in the crowd. But all this aside, you've probably seen, and this is obviously where all the attention should be, but of course what you've seen online is all the talk about how everyone there who died from a satanic ritual, because this is the new mindset we're in. Everything is QAnon. Everything is Jeffrey Epstein. Normally sane people are now completely brainwashed into believing conspiracy theories. The people who usually believe in conspiracy theories have now gone even further and deeper into even crazier conspiracy theories. Everything's got to be something. Of course, an algorithm gone haywire on Wayfair means that they're obviously trafficking children. And, any sort of subversive art has got to be a satanic sacrifice. Because this is the world we live in nowadays. Isn't it great? Honestly, I'm saying this to hype up how ridiculous it's gotten, but the whole satanic panic stuff has never really gone away. It's basically what the show's been covering since its inception, right? But this is where we are. And one of the drivers, though, of all the bullshit conspiracy theories you see online is actually, and this shouldn't be surprising, but to people who've been paying attention, but to some this might be a surprise, it can be traced to the police. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here is Houston Police Chief Troy Finner, the day of the Astroworld news getting out, where they announced the horrific events that happened that evening. Let's play this clip so we could hear what he had to say. What sort of important information was he getting out to the public? Something that people obviously had to hear at that moment, right? Let's take a listen.
I will tell you, one of the narratives was that some individual was injecting other people with drugs. We do have a report of a security officer, according to the medical staff that was out and treated him last night, that he was reaching over to restrain or grab a citizen, and he felt a prick in his neck. When he was examined, he went unconscious. They administered Narcan. He was revived, and the medical staff did notice a prick that was similar to a prick that you would get if somebody's trying to inject. That is one part of it.
I do notice a prick here, but it has nothing to do with a needle.
The other thing that's very important, there were some individuals that were trampled, and we want to be respectful of that, but we just ask that y'all give us time to do a proper investigation. Live Nation has stated from the very beginning that they would cooperate. They're going to give us the video sometime this evening. I spoke to my commander in homicide.
All right, so we could pause this here. We don't need to listen to any more of this clip. Here he is the next morning after this all went down, spreading this information that a security guard at Astroworld, the venue for the Astroworld Festival, was pricked in the neck and injected with some sort of drug and had to be revived. this is crazy. Who's going around injecting people with drugs? I mean, it seems far-fetched because anyone who knows anything about drugs. Now, remember, I'm straight edge. Regular viewers of the show or people who follow me throughout the years know this about me. I came up in the punk scene, have been straight edge for many years, decades. And I even know that drugs are expensive. And someone with access to these drugs wouldn't be freely injecting randos with it. But this is what this Houston police chief, Troy Finner, went out there and decided was important information to get out the very next morning after 8 people died at the Astroworld concert. That has now changed. Here is this very same police chief just the other day.
If you can remember, members of the medical team in the medical tent said that a male security guard had come.
I just want to say, no. I remember you, the fucking police chief of Houston, going out and saying this to cameras. That's what I remember. I don't think I remember any clips out there of any medical teams in the tents there at the venue saying that. Maybe they told you that. But you're the one who decided to spread that information to the masses. That's what I remember. Let's rewind and play this clip again.
If you can remember, members of the medical team in the medical tent said that a male security guard had come in and said that somebody had pricked his neck. And we felt that it could have been something ingested. We did locate that security guard. His story is not consistent with that. He says he was struck in his head. He went unconscious. He woke up in the security tent. He says that no one injected drugs in him. So we want to clear that part up.
What? What? Hey, what happened? What happened there? First of all, let's really, again, focus on the fact that the police chief here is trying to act like we all got that information from some medical people in a tent at the fest. He's the one who went on national television and shared that information. If the medical team told him that, that's fine. I think that's completely legit. You know, when these things happen, in the chaos of the moment, all sorts of rumors and speculation fly. And the job, most people feel, is to get this information to the police so they have anything that they think they might need to actually go ahead and investigate. That's why those medical people probably told the police, hey, someone told us this. I don't know if it's true. We're letting you know this. The police then should be going to investigate before then spreading this word to the public and getting everyone all frantic and, you know, spreading fear throughout how many communities they spread fear throughout, that people run around at shows and concerts and fests pricking people with needles to inject drugs into them. But no, this guy decided to go out there to the media and say this and spread this information, pure speculation, if not straight up misinformation, before knowing if it's true. And I can't get over the fact that he put it on the medical team as if that's where we heard it from. This is not the first, this is far from the first time cops have spread conspiracy theories and misinformation to the public when looking into a case, stoking fear in communities. This is obscene. This is obscene. And I don't think this has got enough coverage. This is obscene. And if you don't think that played a part in all these insane put aside the actual conspiracies going around out there, because directly related to this, where I see it online, people were running around secretly injecting people with drugs at the concert. I've seen that straight up being shared online. But if you don't think that shit also seeped into the, there's, Satanists roaming around at clubs, helping celebrities make sacrifices to, the devil. I mean, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Just lying. All right. Let's do this Dore clip now. Let me do this Dore clip. It's a lot of Dore, actually. A lot of Dore. Too much Dore.
Hello, everyone.
All right, here's this Sean. Let me cue that up here. Let me cue that up here. Give me a second. Just lying to people about being pricked. Unbelievable. Can't get over that. All right, so Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore. Oh, Jimmy Dore. So Jimmy Dore is out there going full anti-vaxxer. I mean, we've seen his turn to the reactionary online right over the past few months. Earlier this year, I did a video about how he just let a Boogaloo boy come on his show and spread the idea that the Boogaloos are, right there, arm in arm with Black Lives Matter, and they're not a right-wing group at all, when that's not true. You can check out that video on my channel. But Jimmy Dore out there is now doing the full-on turn to the anti-vaxxer movement. Whether he actually believes this or this is his way of getting those people to watch his show. There's big money in there. You've seen all these pseudo-leftist types really reach out to the reactionary online viewers over the past year or so, really. But here's Jimmy Dore's latest turn now to the anti-vaxxer movement. And YouTuber Sean Vids, he put together this great hour-long piece looking through Dore's turn to the anti-vaxxers. But there's one specific moment, you might have seen it also being talked about elsewhere, but there's one specific moment in the video that's super interesting where he points out that Dore straight up in a segment basically about an article that he's supposedly just sharing, just an article he read about COVID vaccinations and rates in Singapore, was basically rewritten by Dore to get across a completely different message. I'll play a little bit right now because I think it's definitely worthwhile hearing before we get into what Dore is saying about it. Let's cue up this clip. 1 second.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Sean. But let's get to where I want to in this video. So we're not giving away everything because I want people to go watch your vid too.
Vaccination rate. And this is how Jimmy reads out the rest of the article. Well, no, he's not reading the article, really. He's picking particular sentences out of it in order to present a biased view of it. This is an article about how Singapore's high vaccination rate has kept deaths low even as virus cases increase as the country eases lockdown restrictions. It's a success story. Jimmy Dore, by refusing to mention the positive effects of vaccination, turns it into a scaremongering article about an increase in cases in order to make the vaccine look ineffective. Now,
right, so the point of the article, to be clear, the point of the article that Jimmy Dore is reading in Fortune is basically COVID rates are rising in Singapore. And they are highly vaccinated in Singapore. And no, the article isn't saying that, oh, look, everyone got vaccinated and now COVID's still rising. No, the point is because they're so vaccinated, the lockdown measures and all of those stringent precautions they took to keep COVID cases down in that country were loosened. So vaccine rate goes up. Lockdown measures that kept cases down go away. People are back basically in Singapore acting as almost pre-COVID times. So naturally, cases, because there are still unvaccinated there, and yes, in some cases, there's breakthroughs where people with the vaccine can still get COVID, even though symptoms much less, chance of losing their life from COVID much less. But this all is something that people expected. But Jimmy poses this as something different. Let's continue listening to what Sean uncovers here.
Further down the article, Jimmy Dore does something even worse than simply selectively quote the article. He actually changes the text in order.
Now, selectively quote, what Sean played previous to where I queued up this clip is that Jimmy's basically reading the article, but jumping around so he can avoid the parts that actually say, COVID, he'll go, the article will say, this is not verbatim here. This is an example I'm giving you guys. The article would say COVID rates in Singapore have gone up, but because everyone's highly vaccinated, there are less hospitalizations, or it'll say COVID cases are going up, but that's specifically because the lockdown measures were rescinded because everyone's so well vaccinated. He will just say COVID cases are going up. That's the selective reading. And he'll jump around and just skip all those addendums that basically, the buts that explain why it's not such a big deal because Singapore is doing a good job battling COVID. But then Sean finds out that, like he just said, Dore's been rewriting parts of the article too. Let's get to this.
To better suit his argument. So first, let's read the relevant part of the article. Throughout July and August, cases in Singapore ticked up to over 100 per day after nearly a year of almost no infections due to the city's previous zero-tolerance policy. That policy included stay-at-home orders, intensive testing and contact tracing, and a ban on foreign visitors. This month, cases have risen exponentially from 180 on September 1st to roughly 500 by mid-September and to nearly 1,500 this week. On Monday, Singapore said that it would reintroduce some social distancing measures, including reducing dining groups from 5 to 2 people at restaurants and directing companies to allow employees to work from home. Singapore's government said the measures will be in place for at least 1 month to prevent the healthcare system from being overwhelmed and to allow the city to scale up services to help infected patients recover at home. So what's happened here, according to this article anyway, is that Singapore had very strict lockdown measures and a low number of coronavirus cases.
Right.
Once a large percentage of the country was vaccinated, however, they started easing those lockdown measures, which led, of course, expectedly, to an increase in cases. But since the country has a very high vaccination rate, the number of deaths remained low.
Right.
The vaccine, of course, does not make you completely immune from catching the virus, but it does make it much less likely that you will develop serious symptoms or die as a result of catching the virus. However, Singapore is still wary of overloading its hospitals, so is planning to reintroduce lockdown measures as needed in order to control the number of cases. This all makes perfect sense. Very strict lockdown orders, then a high vaccination rate, then a lifting of those orders leading to increasing cases, with some orders reintroduced in order to avoid overwhelming healthcare capacity. This is not too hard to follow, you'd think.
But Singapore's growing caseload has raised alarms, nonetheless, because of the speed at which cases have climbed. Despite policies including stay-at-home orders, intensive testing and contact tracing,
Wait a minute.
and a ban on foreign visitors.
Wait a minute.
And 80% of them are vaccinated. They're having the biggest outbreak ever.
Wait a minute.
Now, sharp-eyed viewers will have noticed that
That's
what
me.
Dore just read out is not what the article says.
Right.
And let's look at them side by side here. The
Bizarre.
article says, throughout July and August, cases in Singapore ticked up to over 100 per day after nearly a year of almost no infections due to the city's previous zero-tolerance policy. Emphasis on the word previous there. Then it goes on to say that policy included stay-at-home orders, intensive testing, and so on. Jimmy Dore's text says the speed at which cases have climbed despite policies including stay-at-home orders, intensive testing, and so on. He snips out the sentence, making it clear that these policies were the previous policies, the policies that were lifted, and he puts the word despite in there. Now, the word despite is not in this paragraph in the original article, and this makes it seem like these policies are current, ongoing policies.
It doesn't make it seem. I mean, to not to add anything to Sean's great work, but despite putting despite in there, it literally does say that. Not seem. It does that.
Rewriting what the article says to make it say something different. Now, I'd like to pause here and ask a question to any fans of Jimmy Dore's content that might be watching this video. Now, I know that the response to me saying Jimmy Dore produces anti-vaccine content will be to say, no, he doesn't. Dore doesn't directly tell anyone not to get the vaccine. He got the vaccine, and he says that you can get the vaccine if you like. He's not anti-vaccine, he's just asking questions. He's just got some concerns. He's just reporting the vaccine news. Now, my question is, if this was true, if Jimmy Dore really was just innocently asking questions and provoking debate, why does he need to lie?
Exactly. Again, I really want to stress here that by changing that, he's basically changing the article to say that the uptick in the COVID rates happened while they were still doing intensive testing, contact tracing, ban on foreign visitors, and stay-at-home orders, when in fact the article says the opposite, that they were doing those things, and when they were doing those things, the cases were very low. When they stopped doing those things, that's what caused the uptick in cases that Jimmy Dore is now doing a news item on. Just want to make that as clear as possible. Well, this video from Sean, this great video, you should go watch the rest. Again, it's a full hour long. I'm not going to take the thing away from him. You should go check that, take his views away from him. Check that out for sure. But here is
when we originally.
All right, so Jimmy Dore has addressed this information now because this, like I said, this video went viral. It got around. I think it has a couple 100,000 views. So Jimmy Dore has been forced to address it. And Jimmy Dore, as the broadcast, the news, the truth teller and newsman that he is, he goes out there and he makes correction, accepts culpability, says that the responsibility of this stuff lies with me. Of course, he doesn't do this stuff. Check out what Jimmy Dore does.
When we originally reported this graphic here is incorrect. This graphic here was put together by my producer.
That's a despite one. The one that graphic where Jimmy Dore adds the word despite into the article.
He joined together two sentences that didn't go together, and he added a word despite. So if you're going to add a word, you have to put brackets around it so people know you've added a word and it wasn't in the source text. He didn't do that.
I would also argue that that still completely changes the purpose. When you add the brackets, that is when you usually, and I'm telling you this as someone who's experienced reporting and I've had to use brackets before, if you're having a conversation with someone that you'd like to quote, and you'd like to quote the piece, that portion in the article, when you're having a conversation with someone, the part you want to quote might be somewhere in the middle of a conversation. So, it's not going to start where, like, let's say you're talking about COVID-19 and you would like to quote someone saying, COVID-19 cases are getting higher. And you're having a conversation with someone and the quote they give you is, yeah, the cases are getting higher. Now, in your article, that's not going to make any sense, just having this person say the cases are getting higher. So you would put in the brackets COVID-19 in front of, and then cases are getting higher. So you're saying that, okay, this is the conversation I had with the person. This is what they were referring to. I'm just adding a little bit of context for you, the reader, because you weren't in on the whole conversation. You don't add the fucking brackets to completely change what the person is saying. So even on that, he's wrong. Let's continue.
And then he changed the tense of these two words to make it fit syntactically or grammatically with the rest of the sentence. Now, you could combine two sentences, but you have to put a ... and then so people know that you're jumping ahead. And so, but that didn't do that.
Again, you don't do ... and take out important information that's needed to accurately give what comes after the ... Like, he doesn't get it at all. I've done the ... before too. And that's when, someone is, this is an example. Let's say someone is listing things. And then they say, and all those things did this. You're not going to list the 20 things that they gave you in your quote, in your piece. You'll list maybe 2 or 3 of them. And then you do ... and say, they all did this. You don't go, you don't do ... and remove important information that completely would distort what comes after the ... if it was removed. Unbelievable.
That was supposed to be a period, and he put a comma. And then he put this, and it actually changed the meaning of this sentence.
Yeah, that's what happens when you add things and remove things.
It didn't mean what... So, by the way, doesn't change. So, I have to cover that, right? Because that was fucked up. And I didn't know about that. I had to trust my producer that we went over the story. He put it together. I had no idea he was going to take 2 sentences, jam them together, and add a word without putting it in a bracket. So I had no idea when I did this segment originally that had happened. That was done by my producer who put it together.
I've been a producer for shows like Jimmy. In fact, I spent 5 years at the Majority Report with Sam Cedar. Never did anything like that. Sam never had to worry about me doing anything like that. I would never have the idea of doing anything like that. Because who I am, but also I would say for people who maybe aren't in the political world, who are just producers, I would say B, you wouldn't do that if the guy running the show, the guy running the whole thing, wasn't looking for that type of shit.
Asked him why he did it, and he didn't really have a good excuse. He said, I was in a hurry, I got sloppy, and I'm stupid. Unfortunately, he can't be with us anymore because I can't have someone on like that who's sloppy, stupid, and does something like that. And so, unfortunately, he's no longer with us. So someone's paid a price for this. So, but Singapore's growing caseload has raised alarms nonetheless because of the speed at which cases have climbed. And there's a period. And but he put a comma, and then he jumps down to here. The policy included, and then he tried, then he said, despite policies including stay at home. That is not accurate. And then he didn't put the brackets, and then, so that was wrong. And that was effed up. And the reason why we're correcting that is because it was brought to my attention, and I figured out that actually happened, and I'm correcting it because we have integrity at the show. That's all we have is our word.
Again, you're doing a few things here. A, you're completely misrepresenting what would have fixed that. No, the brackets and the ... would not have been okay in this situation. It would not have been okay in that situation. And then B, we now know, according to Jimmy, that he fired the producer responsible for this. This is Jimmy Dore, man of the working class, right? Firing a lowly producer for this mistake? I wouldn't do that. Why would you fire the guy for this? This is a moment where you basically teach them not to do this. I'll guarantee you that it will never happen again due to this on-air correction. If this is what, if the story Jimmy just told us is true, I would assume this would be a good learning moment. Guarantee the guy would never do this again. If again, this is how things played out. I don't know this producer, but weird that Jimmy would fire him like this. This is for someone who's pro-labor. I mean, this is very weird to throw this on a worker like that. This is a mistake, and the buck stops with Jimmy Dore, honestly. So the fact that it got past him, it's really his problem. I'm going to say this right now. If you are the Jimmy Dore producer who got fired, who lost their job over this, please, please, please reach out to me. If you want to be anonymous, if you want to keep this confidential, I can do that. Reach out to me. If you want to go public and have something to say about it, I can help you do that too. If you are the Jimmy Dore producer who lost his job over this, reach out to me. You can find me on Twitter, @MattBinder. That's really the best way to get in touch with me. You could DM me. You can find my email. It's all there. Get in touch with me. I want to talk with you. All right, and people are pointing out that the only person who's ever really come out as a public Jimmy Dore producer is his wife. So unless he fired his wife, who knows? Maybe there's been a, who knows? Maybe let's all he said all he has is his word, right? So let's take him for that. And please give me let's give Jimmy the opportunity here. And I want to hear from the producer who lost their job over this. Please reach out to me. All right, let's. I don't know if how much. Geez, it's already 2.5 hours been going. All right. I'm gonna open the phone line for a minute. If I don't get any calls right off the bat, that's the show. During this time, let me know who you want me to raid on Twitch. I want to do that more often. I want to give people support. Hopefully, that will also they'll spread that love around to myself and other channels. Again, open up your Skype. Ooh, there's a few people who did call in. Let me let them know they can call in. Oh, we do got a call. Oh, we got we got a bunch of calls. Oh, all right, let's do this. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Ian. I am in Wisconsin.
Hey, Ian in Wisconsin. How you doing? And what would you like to talk about?
Well, Kyle Rittenhouse, of course.
Right. I had a feeling.
I guess.
Hey, it could have been. You could have been calling in about I don't know, Aaron Rodgers or whatever his name is. I don't know.
I'm not a football guy. I'd rather hear Emma go off on him.
There you go. That's true. Yeah, you know, you're right there. It would be a waste of time to call me about that one. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I guess I'm frustrated a little bit, partially with like the clips that you played, not on you, because I know like everybody has.
Oh, I think you got too close to your mic or something. You got all muffled.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Better?
Yeah, that's much better.
So like the clips that you played, that they've been kind of like everybody is covering them to, so extensively about this judge, and I've been watching pretty decent chunks of the trial when I have been able to. and he hasn't struck me as being that intrusive in what I've seen. And it's not really that surprising to me because, like, for example, a couple of years ago, Serial did a like, I think it was their season 3, where they spent a summer in a Cincinnati courthouse, and the kind of dictatorial control that the judges have over their courtrooms is it was kind of shocking to me when I heard that, because they went into some depth about one of the judges there. So it kind of strikes me that, you know, everything that Sam has said over the years about how screwed up the judiciary at all levels in the country is, because, like, some of these guys, I don't know Kenosha specifically, but like, if he's a municipal judge, he may run for that seat over and over unopposed. And, you know, that's happened in a couple of places that I've lived, where it's like you see a judge's name on a ballot, and it's like, you don't know the first thing about him. You might see some signs on some lawns here and there, but, like, there's not even anybody running against him ever. And that's kind of problematic. And I don't know why. Oh, excuse me. I almost hit a possum. Sorry about that.
Oh.
So what I'm more curious about is why nobody is talking about the fact that this kid straw purchased a rifle. Apparently his sister's boyfriend is being charged with obtaining it for him and providing it to him. But, like, all these right wingers that are like the technicality of, oh, he didn't cross state lines with it. But they never add the part where, oh, he participated, he conspired to straw purchase a weapon that he wasn't supposed to have. I haven't heard, has he been charged with that?
I honestly, you know, I don't know. That's a great question. I haven't been following this case until recently, in terms of the court case. I followed this big time when it happened, because to me, I mean, this is one of those ones where I see, you know, I see the writing on the wall here, and I saw it, you know.
Right.
So, you know, it's, you know, I wasn't really going to pay much attention until we got our answer. And, you know, it looks like, you know, the jury made a decision, I should say. And, you know, I think the reason this case got so much attention is because of this judge, really. I mean, maybe, like you said, maybe it comes across worse in the clips, which is obviously something that's possible. But, you know, I think he's definitely adding himself in as, if anything, at the very least, I should say, you know, like trying to, like, get some star power on his name or something like that. You know what I mean? Taking advantage of the limelight, like I said earlier.
Because the other thing that, like, that the one where he, I don't remember what he said, but where he kind of, like, snapped at the prosecutor to not get brazen with him. That's toward the end of, like, about a 10-minute exchange where they're going back and forth between the two lawyers and him about evidentiary rulings and stuff. So that's actually
right.
It's kind of an interesting exchange that they're going through, where they're kind of making their cases. And I think that this prosecutor, he's not particularly, you know, he's doing the best he can with the judge, but they don't really, like, you know, they're assigned who they're assigned, and it's, you know.
Right. I said when I played that clip, like, I played it because that's the one that was really generating the criticism to begin with. But I didn't even tweet about that one yesterday, like I did the ones from today, because I thought, you know, obviously maybe he, you know, maybe you can say that he's going a little bit above and beyond, but at the same time, you know, they're arguing over something that it doesn't seem so out of the like out of the ordinary for a judge and a lawyer to disagree with, and for a judge to, like, you know, knock down a prosecutor or a defense on that. to me, the real things that really show, and to me, the ringtone is obviously, it's not nothing, but it's not something. You know what I mean? Like it's not something.
Yeah, but there's a lot of dumb old Republicans that love that song, so
Right.
that doesn't strike me as
exactly.
that.
But to me, the one from today, the Veterans Day thing, that is that's to me that's way out of bounds. I'm sorry. Because
I see where you're saying that, but it's also that goes back to that whole, like, they have just this weird control over the room where they have so much leeway to do things that, like, we just don't engage with the court system in a way that, like,
that's a real problem then. If people who like if people who are experienced with it, like you're addressing here, say, oh, that's not out of the ordinary, then I think we have a much bigger problem.
Definitely.
Because what this judge is basically doing in that Veterans Day clip is he's basically telling the jury that this guy is a respectable patriot and he's going to be telling you the God's honest truth. And you as a judge can't do that. I'm sorry.
I agree with you.
I mean,
it's that weird hero worship thing that we got for veterans too, where it's, I know what you're saying, but it's just it's weird, but it's also,
like, and
they show those kind of biases that you'd be shocked.
Right.
I would recommend anybody listening to that particular podcast, if they got time, to kind of get a little different view into that.
Oh, I remember watching the documentary about who was the serial killer that everyone thought was really good looking. Was that Ted Bundy? Right, I think that's him. I was watching a documentary.
I think so.
I was watching a documentary, and at the end of the case, and even in the documentary, they've imposed this as completely bonkers and weird. And how the judge obviously, how at the end of the trial, the judge decides to use his time with all the cameras on him to talk about how Ted Bundy's a handsome looking guy, and he could have seen how he could have been hanging out with Ted Bundy at the frat house or something. Again, this isn't exactly what he said, but the judge did something just as fucking weird, where he sort of tried to sympathize with Ted Bundy, and it's just that moment in the documentary was posed as fucking ridiculously odd and not cool. And to me, this is very much what we're seeing here. At least, if you want to argue that the other clips don't do that, I could agree with you there. I didn't comment on them in real time. I used them as part of the segment to basically give you all a gist of why the criticism's coming. Whether or not I agree that that's there for every video, that's not the case. But this Veterans Day one, I think, is not, something that should be held in the same light as those other ones. This is clearly a judge pressing his thumb on the scale hard for one side, quite openly, if you ask me.
Right. The other thing, not to keep it too long, I'll just leave it this. But the other thing that I thought that was strange was when Gage Gross.
Oh, you got a little muffled again. If you move your phone.
Sorry.
That's all right.
You good?
Perfect, Ian. Yep.
When Gage Grosskreutz was testifying, they were showing videos of after he got wounded, and how bad that that damage to his arm was. And then the next day, when this is the part that struck me strange, was that when they were talking to the medical examiner, and they were going through the what he was describing on the screen of the other two victims, that stuff wasn't broadcast on the stream, where it seems like from the one day they're showing this bloody awful wounding of this person while they're testifying, and then while the medical examiner is going through, they don't show the other stuff. It's like they're hiding something from the public, and I don't know if that's a privacy thing or what, but it just seems like the public's not getting quite the full picture even though they're broadcasting this as much as possible, to not see the evidence as they're going through it, that is just a strange thing. And I don't know if that's with the TV station that's not putting the camera on it, or if that's under the judge's direction, but that struck me odd.
Right, that is interesting. Oh, you reminded me too. There was something else I wanted to bring up. I'm gonna have to do a second segment right now on this. Have you seen this? The Apple pinch to zoom function on the iPad that came up during the case?
I heard something about it today, but I wasn't sure what that was about, and I was busy with my kid all day, so
let me
didn't have a chance to.
Let me let you go, and I'm going to do a quick short segment on this really quick, and then I'll take the next caller. I really appreciate you calling
thanks,
in.
Matt.
This was really great. Thanks for calling in.
Yep, have a good one.
All right, so this is all right. If you're on the line, don't call in. I'll take one or two more calls, but don't call in yet. I'll let you know when to call in. Give me a second here. So this is even more incredible than some of those clips of the judge yelling at the prosecutor or cheering for Veterans Day for the one veteran who just happens to be the defense's witness. This is just so bizarro world to me. So hold on, I gotta sign out of Skype here for a second. People are calling in. So during the trial, during the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, the prosecutors want to show a over the head street view video. And I think that's what that video is. There's a video they want to show. And to give the jury a better view, and again, this is obviously they have their iPad and they're projecting it onto a screen. They use the pinch to zoom function. You know what that is, right? You have your iPad here, you put your two fingers here, and you pinch, to zoom, and it zooms into the image. The defense makes an argument that the pinch to zoom function on the iPad manipulates the footage and should not be able to be used to show the jury. The defense says iPads, which are made by Apple, have artificial intelligence in them that allow things to be viewed through 3 dimensions and logarithms. They mean algorithms, but they said logarithms. It uses artificial intelligence or their logarithms to create what they believe is happening. So this isn't actually enhanced video. This is Apple's iPad programming creating what it thinks is there, not what necessarily is there. So the defense is literally arguing that when you pinch to zoom on your iPad, Apple is not, zooming in and enhancing the digital artifacts, so it just smooth out the footage so you can see it better. No, what they are claiming is that Apple's logarithms and artificial intelligence visually create something that is not in the original image. I have never heard this before in my life. And I've read multiple outlets' coverage of this. Apple has not responded to comment yet, probably because this is so insane. But this is what the defense argued. And get ready for this. I know you guys have heard all these things about the judge and how he took a break when Kyle Rittenhouse was blubbering. And he had the Lee Greenwald Proud to be an American on his ringtone playing on his phone. And he wouldn't let the prosecution call Kyle Rittenhouse's victims, but he would allow them to be called looters and arsonists. And we got the Veterans Day thing that I previously mentioned. This might shock you, but the judge sided with the defense on this. And get ready for this is even more amazing. He argued that the prosecution had had the burden of proof, not the defense, the prosecution had the burden to prove that Apple does not use artificial intelligence to manipulate footage. Do you believe this? The judge said that the defense didn't have to prove something was happening. It was up to the prosecution to prove something was not happening, which you cannot do. You can't, but I guess he gave them 20 minutes to find an expert to speak to this. Now, this isn't information they previously had, so they didn't have an expert, on their list ready to go. And I guess, again, Apple wasn't responding to their emails in the 20-minute time frame. So the prosecution could not find an expert within that 20-minute timetable to prove that Apple is not using logarithms or artificial intelligence to manipulate footage by creating something that isn't there. So in the footage they showed the jury, the prosecution could not zoom in to show a better view of it. They had to show on the screen a zoomed out view. Unbelievable. Really, just unbelievable. What the fuck are we doing here? Seriously. Like, they literally acted like zooming in the video would have created a deepfake. I want to be clear there. The argument that the defense made, that the judge bought, was if you zoom into the footage, Apple's product is creating something that's not even in the original image. It's creating a deepfake. Kill me now. All right, I will call into the phone system one last time. I'll take one or two more calls really quick. And then that's the show. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey there, my name is AJ.
Hey, AJ, what would you like to talk about? Oh, where are you from, and what would you like to talk about?
Yeah, so I'm from British Columbia, Canada.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, there you go. How you doing?
Pretty good. I've been a long-time fan. I think the first time I ever heard of you was when GamerGators made weird fan art of you.
Oh, that was one of my favorite time periods. I saved a lot of that shit because it was great. I mean, what a great time to be alive.
No, it was killer. But I've been looking at a lot of this stuff. I was a little offended by Sam Cedar.
Ooh.
And I know you're not his steward, so I don't think you should be responsible for this. But I was offended that he called Jimmy Dore a comedian.
Oh, right. Yes. I probably might have called him that too, just because that's the title he goes by. But I understand why you'd have a problem with that, because it's not entirely accurate.
Yeah, he self-identifies as a comedian, and I understand why, because he spent a lot of money buying jokes from other people. But he called Jimmy a masturbatory comedian, which I understand, because whenever I saw Jimmy on stage, all I could think was, get off, get off.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but with this Rittenhouse trial, I've been finding that the prosecution doesn't seem like they're very good at this job.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's a hard position to be in, but I also agree that they aren't, doing a very good job. But I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. I'm not entirely on the up and up either of all the different ways the judge has tied their hands. So I'm sure that's part of it. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, no question. At any rate, I just wanted to pop in and say, love your show. I love you here. I love you in the Majority Report, and you're always been a big blast to watch. So I'm looking forward to you in the future.
Oh, I really appreciate the kind words, really. And please call in again. Hope you get to watch the show as regularly as you can, because I love having as many callers call in, and always a pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, long-time watcher, first-time caller, and you have yourself a good night.
Take care. You too.
Bye.
All right. I think there's one or two. There's a whole bunch of people on the line now. I won't be able to take you all. I will take the next person to call in. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's up? This is Benny Boy from Iowa.
Hey, how you doing? What would you like to talk about?
I'm doing pretty well today. I'm just playing some Animal Crossing. I had a question for you. It's about a disagreement my brother and I are sort of having, and I thought maybe you might want to weigh in.
Sure. I always love injecting myself in between sibling rivalries. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So basically, I'm pretty despondent about what is going to be happening in I guess the next 20 years in the internet. I see a lot of the
Ooh, are we
misinformation on Facebook and how easily it spreads.
I was afraid you were going to bring up a discussion about crypto, and then this show that's already been 2 hours and 45 minutes probably would have gone 4 hours. But go ahead. This is something I can do much more concisely. Go ahead.
Okay. And basically I just see the problem getting worse because I think social media is fundamentally a little bit toxic and it plays up our worst instincts. And his attitude is that when he looks at younger people, Gen Z, he thinks they're more resistant and more savvy to misinformation.
No.
Because they have grown up with it.
No.
And he basically thinks the problem's going to take care of itself.
Has he been on TikTok?
I think a little bit, but not a ton.
Those kids are eating up all this satanic bullshit. I'm telling you right now. So you think that things are going to get worse. Your brother thinks things are going to get better because of the incoming generation.
Well, and he thinks that Facebook's going to go out of business.
No.
Companies like that, because people will see it for what it is.
No. Listen, there's a lot of reasons to be hopeful for younger people. Obviously, young people get more and more progressive, but the idea that like there's not fucking idiot Gen Zers, like there's fucking idiot millennials and fucking idiot Gen Xers and fucking idiot boomers is just not. It's just that's not true. Listen, maybe neither of you are right though, and let's put it this way. I mean, it's possible that things do get a little bit better. But I don't quite think it's because like young people are going to come in and solve all the problems. I just think perhaps we'll all just cohesively learn together. I don't think it'll go away. I think the problems will remain, but perhaps we can be a little bit more knowledgeable and a little bit more aware of what's going on. And again, this is something that will span all the generations. I don't know if you can attribute it to just like young people coming in, because I don't think that's just not true. It's just not true. I'm not shitting on Gen Zers, obviously, because they're just like every other generation. There's very smart people. There's very dumb people. Maybe the smart people are a little smarter, but I'll also argue that the dumb people are probably a little bit dumber.
Do you think there's any like solid evidence to point to one way or another about what misinfo and sort of extremism online is going to look like in the next 20 years?
I mean, I can say this: all the prophecies have not really played out. Like I remember writing about deep fakes being used in campaigns and how it was going to be a problem in the 2020 election, and it wasn't. I'm not saying that deepfakes are not something to be on top of, but it just didn't pan out. And it's not because the technology is not there. I mean, maybe that's a little bit part of it. The technology is there to make a really good deepfake. The thing is, it's not you do need a pretty powerful computer to make a very convincing one. So that's not open to just everybody. But at the same time, I don't think it's really just that. I think it's you just don't need it right now. People, have you seen some of the terribly bad edits that people lap up and eat? Like, we don't need really good deepfakes. Like, you don't need, like, why would someone go out there and spend thousands and thousands of dollars for, like, 64 gigs of RAM in their new MacBook Pro M1 Max to create a deepfake? When, some dumbass is creating some badly spliced together iMovie video, and that shit's going viral on the right-wing internet on its own. Like, why put the resources where they don't need to be?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. When I look at, like, what my conservative friends are sharing, it's like poorly Microsoft Paint edited screenshots of, like, New York Times headlines. It's unreal how low the bar is.
Right. I mean, so listen, will the future of misinformation and the harm of social media attribute to, will that change throughout the years? For sure. Will it get better? Probably some aspects will get better. I think so, optimistically. Will some of it get worse? Realistically, also, yes. I think there are areas that will get worse. I think it'll just be a constant, like, cat and mouse game, to be quite frank. Just when we fix something new will pop up. And we're not even discussing the dystopian future that the tech VCs are talking about right now with Web3, where everything's on a blockchain. So maybe that's discussion for another day, or maybe even another podcast if I get this other podcast off the ground. But yeah, is there anything else, or do you think I answered your question? So in short, I think in the bigger picture, you're right in the brotherly feud, because your brother's outright wrong about Gen Z. But in terms of, like, the future of misinformation, you're probably both a little bit right and a little bit wrong.
All right, cool. Thanks for weighing in.
All right, no problem. Thanks for calling in. Hope you call in again.
For sure. Peace out.
Take care. Oh my God. This just broke after I ended my conversation with Michael Hayden. This is from Nick Martin on Twitter. A day after holding... One second. I'll take your call, but hold on 1 second before talking. A day after holding an anti-vax rally outside an NYC hospital, white nationalist and Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes canceled his live stream show for tonight and told his followers on social media that he has come down sick. Oh my God. Okay, let me take this call. That's too great, though. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it was Kowalski, and I was going to keep it short, and I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of hope and optimism, but I don't think I can quite top that.
That may, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think you can, but if you want to try, sure.
All right. Well, to the whole thing with the judges that you were talking about earlier, I just wanted to let you in on a little thing that my brother's worldview is. He doesn't like voting, absolutely despises it, but he does vote every election because you can recall judges, and that's all he does. He votes to recall every single one of them because he doesn't think that judges should get to stay forever. That's like his only view on that. So I just thought that was kind of funny. And then on your last caller's view on, like, optimism looking forward, I would say the labor movements are a big one to be looking forward to, because clearly something is firing up in people. And if basically the entire workforce of a monopoly decides to go on strike, well, there's no replacements for that. So when you like corner a market, as a lot of these companies have done, they've also backed themselves into a labor corner.
Right.
So
damn,
that can
Kowalski
swing
coming in
both
with
ways.
Kowalski coming in with the goods here.
Exactly.
So I'm glad you did. I think you did follow it up, buddy.
Alrighty. Well, I'm actually at the gym in between sets, so if I'm gonna have any chances of being, stronger than Brandon, I'm gonna have to keep at it.
All right. Always a pleasure when you call in.
All right.
Take care.
See ya.
All right. I will take this one last call because I see this person's been trying to call in. Go ahead. Be quick, though. Go ahead. All right. Maybe they've tapped out for the night. Let me give them that heads up. This is the last chance. Giving you 1 second. Oh, who am I rating? Who am I rating? Tell me in the chat here. Who am I rating? Hello. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Matt. It's Rem from Baltimore.
Oh, hello, Rem. Can I pull you up on the feed?
Sure.
All right. Give me 1 second. What happened?
No worries.
What happened to my window? Oh, here we go. Okay. Here we go. All right. There we go. Hey, Rem. What would you like to talk about? And sorry to rush you because
No worries. I can be quick. I was calling in and to tell you that I really enjoyed the interview with Michael Hayden. He's great. I love his work.
Yeah, he's great.
and I was curious if you've been hearing about James O'Keefe thing.
I have. We should save this for another show, though. This is a whole
sure.
This is a whole episode, honestly, with a guest who's been, honestly, this is quite something. The diary stuff.
It's strange. Yeah. It's strange. It's strange.
Yeah, I mean, there's honestly a lot of things I've wanted to get to these past few weeks that I haven't had a chance to get to yet. Because this always happens. It's like always like there's it's never spread apart nicely so I can go, obvious show for this week. Let me get this guest. It's always, oh my God, who do I talk to this week? It's been a slow week. Immediately followed by, holy shit, 20 things just happened this week. I can't get to it all. And then that's followed by another slow. It's never catch a break. It's always got to be some craziness.
You're not an army, Matt. It's okay. It's all good.
Right. Is there anything else though you wanted to address, or just the?
Not necessarily. I guess the Kyle Rittenhouse trial has been really frustrating to watch, and been dealing with a lot of right wingers online, and they're just pretty vile. They're pretty insane, and they can't let this go. This is their hero, and it's just him crying kind of made things a little bit easier, I suppose, but it made me laugh.
Right.
It certainly made me laugh. But I did want to mention that I bought my ticket for the Majority Report live show, so I'm definitely going.
All right, well, have fun. I don't think I'll be there because I'm not part of the
For sure.
I'm not part of the main crew that's headed. I don't think Sam is buying me and Brandon a ticket up to Boston. But but enjoy.
For sure. I'm gonna do my best. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I hope so.
I'll say that I have wanted to do. Obviously, this show is much smaller, but so I would, if I did do it, it'd be a much smaller venue. But I have been wanting to do. I caught the bug when I did the Michael Brooks show live in February 2020. I was doing live things with the band back in the day a lot, and I was always very good at live stuff, and I always enjoyed that. And I haven't done it in a long time. Then Michael asked me to do the show. I did it, and I caught that bug again. I've been wanting to do a live thing since, so I may set something up. It'd be small, maybe like a small basement type crowd, not like huge venue like Michael and Majority Report have.
For sure. That'd be great.
I'll let you guys know.
Where do you think you'd go?
Oh, I can't give you guys a venue, but maybe Max, like a DIY punk venue where you would find me in, like something like that,
That'd be dope.
50 to 100 people, if even that,
For sure.
Thanks for calling in. Have a great night.
You too, man. Thank you.
All right, folks. Who am I rating? What happened to the, I can't find anything on my screen today. I need to lay things out better. All right, here we go. I'm hanging up Skype. Skype's done. Who am I rating? It's not, all right, so here's the deal. If you're on YouTube right now, go to twitch.tv/MattBinder so I could send you on the raid. Use this time now to go to twitch.tv/MattBinder so you can be part of the raid. Usually there's like one person who everyone agrees with. I'm not seeing that today. Interesting. You got Julian Field. Let's see who else we got. Who's Riverboat Jack? Julian Field's got a lot of people watching. He raided me last time, but I feel like it'd be a waste of a raid to send fewer people than they've already got. Who's Riverboat Jack? All right, let's do Riverboat Jack. Someone else gave a props to Riverboat Jack. Let's do that. Go to twitch.tv/MattBinder and I'll send you on the way. I'm going to do it right now. Here we go. Raid channel. Riverboat Jack. Here we go. Let's do it. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. You know the drill. Patreon.com/MattBinder. YouTube.com/MattBinder. Twitch.tv/MattBinder. @MattBinder on Twitter, Instagram, etc. See you all next time on Doomed.